Hello?
Hello, hello, Vikram Bhai.
Hi,
Can you hear me?
yeah. Can you hear me?
आपका आपका कैमरा लैग कर रहा है 2 मिनट. Is it the
अच्छा.
internet?
I mean, I'm using their Wi-Fi. अभी अभी ठीक आ रहा है या नहीं? अभी भी नहीं.
ठीक है, आप ठीक है. हाँ, आप ठीक है.
Yeah, I think it takes time to stabilize. ऐसा कुछ होगा.
राइट, राइट.
अब
फिर से लैग कर रहा है थोड़ा बहुत. बट अब ठीक है.
एक
बेटर, बेटर. ठीक है.
should I switch it to like I have two more options?
um, we can try if you don't mind. कर सकते हैं ट्राई क्योंकि फिर से लैग हो गया इसीलिए. आई थिंक वी शुड.
हेलो. अब अब कैसा है?
हाँ, अब परफेक्ट एकदम.
सही है?
अब लैग नहीं कर रहा. हम्म, हम्म.
नहीं.
नहीं. मैं दिख रहा हूँ आपको क्लियरली. मेरा वीडियो लैग कर रहा है
हाँ
क्या?
हाँ, I can figure it कि you also pause, no? तो मेरा भी रुक जाता होगा. I think ऑडियो में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बट अभी भी
हाँ,
ठीक
ऑडियो
है.
में
आई
कोई
थिंक
प्रॉब्लम नहीं है.
ठीक चल रहा है शायद, है ना?
हाँ, हाँ, हाँ. और ऐसा होता है ना कि when you see the recording afterwards, the video works perfectly fine. It is only now that it is lagging. So I don't think that would be a problem. Manage कर सकते हैं.
अच्छा, जस्ट वेरी क्यूरियस. आई हैव नेवर यूज्ड दिस प्लेटफॉर्म. ये स्ट्रीम यार्ड क्या है? मतलब बेसिकली पहली बार मुझे इतना कन्वीनियंट लगा कि सिर्फ लिंक पे चलो और हो गया, रादर देन
हाँ, हाँ.
एक्सेसिंग वो टेक्स्ट या फिर ये वाला क्या होता है
The,
और
the
कौन सा
thing
होता
is
है?
Zoom या Google Meet पे they do not allow to record a meeting unless and until you have a paid subscription. And the same is for Zoom क्योंकि Zoom में सिर्फ 40 minutes free है पहला, and then you have to do it again and again. तो बहुत ही hectic हो जाता है. But StreamYard पे you could just record for hours and hours without paying anything. तो
सही है.
ये हम जैसे
तो
लोगों के लिए बहुत ठीक प्लेटफॉर्म है रिकॉर्ड
डेफिनेटली.
करने के लिए. हाँ, हाँ. Where are you right now?
I am in the middle of an like undisclosed location. I'm basically traveling every weekend. I'm back to India, posted in Amritsar now, but
Right.
keep traveling because बाहर रहने का ये था ना कि इंडिया में the travel you wanted to do to places could not have been possible because of living abroad. But now that you're back to India, I make the most of weekends to like roam around.
राइट, राइट, राइट. तो अच्छा, तो अभी आप करंटली अमृतसर में.
हाँ.
राइट. मैं क्या सोच रहा था कि अभी अभी 3 बजे नहीं एग्जैक्टली, तो पहले 3-4 मिनट हम थोड़ा चिल कर लेते हैं, राइट? कि
क्या
थोड़ा
यही
ईज
था.
हो जाए, वरना बहुत ही ऑकवर्ड रहेगा.
तभी तभी मैं पहले आया कि 10 मिनट पहले तो
हाँ,
आ
हाँ,
जाता.
हाँ.
और मैं कॉफी भी पी रहा हूँ ताकि मैं जल्दी ना थकूं.
मैंने भी अभी सिर्फ आधे घंटे पहले ही कॉफी पी है कि मैं ना थक जाऊं, इसीलिए. बट मैं थकूंगा नहीं. आई एम वेरी एक्साइटेड अबाउट दिस. मेरे को तो अभी तक बिलीव ही नहीं हो रहा था अभी 5 मिनट पहले तक, until you joined, that this is actually going to happen, because I haven't seen you giving interviews online इतना किसी को. तो मुझे
Your
लगा
con
कि
like even the recent one I saw with Vineet Gill. You are
राइट.
the people who are actually so well versed in their niche, which people are not really. I mean, I don't know how I fit in that matrix, but the three people you've interviewed are like I love to hear their. मतलब मैंने पूरा नहीं देखा तीनों
हाँ,
episodes,
हाँ.
but just the first part, even like 20-25 minutes, the way you go about things, it's quite like meaningful. At least you are just discussing ideas more than the people themselves, right? So
Right, right, right.
It was, uh,
It
but
it was in the last video I recorded with him that I realized that the word I use the most in my conversations is right. I say it way too often, and now I have to reduce it. मैं बहुत ही ज़्यादा aware हो गया हूँ कि मैं right बहुत बोलता हूँ. तो हाँ.
पर मुझे लगता है ये फेजेस होते हैं कि कई बार आप एक वर्ड ज्यादा बोलने लगते हो इन लाइक मुझे एक बार बेसिकली बेसिकली बोलने का बहुत वो पड़ गया था. मुझे कभी जिंदगी में इतना बोला भी नहीं, लेकिन लेकिन रैंडम just to connect your ideas you just pick on these words sometimes. Matlab,
Right.
maybe it might not be true generally, but in that interview you would have been like right कुछ ज्यादा हो गया, वो कभी realize क्या पता होता भी ना हो, उसी टाइम पे
हाँ.
brain just like hung on to that just to support the
Yes.
conversation maybe.
I have noticed this with people that the word the collective audience uses the most these days is like. वो हर बात में like घुसा देते हैं to draw an analogy. I do not know. मतलब वो एक सेंटेंस बोल रहे हैं वो पूरा नहीं करेंगे बट बोल देंगे like ऐसा और फिर वो डाइग्रेस हो जाते हैं वहां से एक एनालॉजी ड्रॉ करते करते. That is also interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it is just a basic lack of vocabulary people have, or is there something more to it?
I think lack of vocabulary is also very like it's subject to time and space, especially
Right.
when you also are mindful of the fact that who you're talking to, right? So even you might be using right in the context that you are trying to convey a point to a person who would who is on the same page and like would understand what you're saying, right? Tabhi to right.
Uh-huh.
Other, if you're in an argument or you are talking to someone who opposes your opinion, your use of the word right won't be that often. I mean, that's my guess. You would all. It's
Hmm.
like a concurrence, right? कि हाँ तू समझ रहा है ना मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ, वो वाला
Hmm.
मोड है ना. तो maybe it depends on who your interlocutor is also.
Right. See again.
और
Yes.
तो लाइक भी ऐसा हो सकता है कि लाइक इज लाइक अ वो है ना, जैसे हम इंटरेस्टिंग इंटरेस्टिंग इज नॉट एडजेक्टिव पीपल से राइट. किसी भी if someone asks for your opinion and you say it's interesting, that is basically non-existent, right? कि कुछ भी हो सकता है इंटरेस्ट. वैसे ही लाइक है आई थिंक कि just to while converting your ideas into words, it's like a Kickstarter or something, maybe हो सकता
Yes.
है.
Yes. And very similarly, I have seen content on YouTube, right? And I'm sure everybody has, but
Yeah.
I'll confess it that I have seen content on YouTube like how to improve your communication skills, right? How
हाँ,
to talk better. And
yeah.
their entire thesis is based on this that stop using these words. So they dismiss these words, rather they give you more adorable words इनकी जगह पे. अगर तुम बोल रहे हो कि you look beautiful, you might say you look mesmerizing, right? It's on the same spectrum, but थोड़ा ज़्यादा better लगता है सुनने में. मुझे नहीं पता.
Then
तो
you come across as creepy.
right, exactly. हाँ.
Mesmerizing,
अभी
क्या आदमी है, कहाँ से आया है?
have you ever seen content like this on YouTube? How to improve your communication skills?
My father used to give me a lot of recommendations on जैसे रीडर्स डाइजेस्ट में आता है ना ग्रामर सेक्शन, या द हिंदू में एक बार शायद उनके टाइम पे आता था एक एडिटोरियल के नीचे इंग्लिश. अब तो नहीं आता वो, शायद पहले तो he would get me these books like how to improve writing, how to write better, जो मैंने कभी पढ़ा नहीं, लेकिन there was always a push from his side at home to focus on the right kind of English, which is the Victorian English. But
Right.
I the moment I it was also related to we were getting transferred so much कि he was maybe apprehensive कि जब मैं बड़े शहर में जाऊंगा तो I might not be able to make friends because of my poor English. So he would, but the moment I came to Delhi in middle school, I realized यहाँ तो सब गालियां दे रहे हैं, तो कोई इंग्लिश में वैसे बात नहीं कर रहा है, तो that sort of broke like my conception कि अच्छा इंग्लिश में
Right.
तो सिर्फ कोई नहीं बोलता, वो तो सिर्फ लिखने वाली बातें हैं या बोल मतलब हाँ eventually it helped me out, but I didn't focus that much actually. But yeah, not on YouTube, but re- in terms of reading or maybe yeah, more or less that Dale Carnegie type के जो गाइड बुक से होते हैं ना इंग्लिश में या हाउ टू पर्सनालिटी, वो मेरे घर पे बहुत पड़ी होती थी, लेकिन मैंने पढ़ी नहीं हो.
मैंने आपकी बहुत ही पुरानी वीडियो देखी थी यूट्यूब पे, जो आई गेस आपकी पहली वीडियो है यूट्यूब पे आपके चैनल पे, अबाउट यू बीइंग पब्लिश्ड ऑथर, राइट?
हाँ
उसमें उसमें एक एक शॉट है जिसमें आप कुछ लिख रहे हो और मे बी आर प्रिटेंडिंग टू राइट फॉर द कैमरा, राइट? यू नॉट एक्चुअली राइटिंग बिकॉज आई बिलीव यू कैन नॉट राइट व्हेन somebody is watching you. That's थोड़ा
fountain
odd.
pen, the fountain. I'm actually not writing. I'm underlining, like proofreading a random script which they made me do, which is not.
Right.
I'm not even writing anything. It's just the light of that lamp is so bright that it feels like it's an empty page, but it's not. I'm just underlining with an ink pen, which makes no sense.
हाँ, हाँ, मतलब आपने वो सिर्फ आपने एक्ट किया था वहां पे, राइट? यू आर एक्टिंग टू राइट ऑन इट। और उसी में एक शॉट है जहाँ पे दे आर शोइंग द बुक्स यू रीड, एंड मैंने
Yeah.
मैंने एक बार बस करके देखा है कि ये कौन कौन सी किताबें हैं। तो उसमें चेतन भगत की नॉवेल्स थी, राइट? उसमें
Collegiate.
लॉर्ड ऑफ द रिंग्स थी, जहाँ तक मेरे को याद है। सो
Got
वाज दिस योर गेटवे इनटू लिटरेचर, राइट? ये किताबें जो आपके शेल्फ में थी।
uh,
हाउ ओल्ड वर यू बैक देन?
I was 13, I think. 13, yeah.
13. You got your first book published when you were 13. Wow.
Yeah, but then I didn't have. If you see the location I was in with like no people around, no friends to spend time with, that was the thing I like devoted my time to, because एक summer vacation में अगर आप कहीं जा नहीं रहे हो, then you're just that boredom that comes in creativity के लिए, I think boredom is super important. So
Hmm.
maybe that's why I just started writing that book, the initiative. So yeah.
You talked about boredom. Um, more or less, creativity springs from boredom in a lot of ways. So, Abhi,
Yeah.
while you are posted, you are working, right? I mean, I just need to clarify this slightly beforehand, right? We will take no UPSC questions. I'm not interested in that, right? We'll not talk anything about
Basic
it.
questions or no. Basically, I'm not an officer in this interview.
Yeah, we are just chilling, right? हाँ, two grads chilling. और
Yeah.
मेरा तो bachelor's का subject भी history है, right? History honors. So that way we are very much
But
similar. And I also
where are you right now?
I'm in Delhi. I'm very close to campus. Uh,
Okay.
I'm doing my masters right now from the Department of Philosophy.
सही है सही है. Yeah, yeah,
हाँ,
yeah.
हाँ, हाँ.
Or
Yeah, yeah.
Shivai is your pseudonym or like real name?
It's my pseudonym. It's not my real name.
Yeah.
How did you get that?
That is the first thing I noticed. Like, it can't be Shivai Saraswati cannot be a real name.
Right, right, right. हाँ,
Yeah.
alliteration बहुत ज्यादा ही perfect है कुछ इस नाम का. हाँ, और
But
ये
even it's very, it has a literary twist to it. It's not
हाँ,
Shiva like Shiv, but it's Shivai, which I haven't heard before. But for someone to adopt a pen name, it would work. So I thought that would, because you write well. I saw I read your
thank
or
you.
heard your poem, but so it made sense. I thought this is your pen name.
Well, in a way, I have to credit you for it. You unknowingly, right? Uh, I started writing because of you. you still run a blog post besan ka halwa, and I have seen it on Twitter that many people have started blog posts because of you, and they used to send you कि ये मेरा पढ़ लो सर, ये मेरा ही पढ़ लो. And मैंने
हाँ,
2-3 पोस्ट देखी है ट्विटर पे ऐसी. मैंने आपका ब्लॉग पोस्ट देख के कॉलेज के फर्स्ट ईयर में अपना ब्लॉग पोस्ट शुरू किया था जिसका नाम था कड़ी चावल डॉट ब्लॉग स्पॉट
oh,
डॉट कॉम, राइट. और वो
nice.
पता नहीं. और फिर मैंने उसके बाद मैंने फिर कई सारे ब्लॉग पोस्ट बनाए, क्योंकि आपने भी एक और बनाया था अबाउट पेरिस और कचौड़ी, मैं उसका नाम भूल गया. यूज्ड टू राइट ऑन इट बट देन यू स्टॉप्ड राइटिंग ऑन इट.
Yeah, it was basically an intention to find cultural analogies between French and Indian pop
इंडिया,
culture, or
राइट.
any cultural symbols.
अच्छा
So
तभी कृष्णा और कचौड़ी. अच्छा
uh,
तभी.
yeah,
हाँ हाँ हाँ. तो
so
फिर
मैं
वो
बोर
मैं फिर. हाँ हाँ प्लीज प्लीज.
I s- नहीं, फिर मैं बोर हो गया ना, फिर मैंने लिखना बंद कर दिया उसमें. ऐसे बहुत
हाँ
है.
तो.
पहले असल में मैंने ब्लॉगिंग जब शुरू की थी, तो मेरा
हाँ
ब्लॉग
हाँ.
का नाम पहले ब्लॉग का नाम मेरा था सैंक्टिफाइंग इन्फिनिटी. और
Damn.
फिर कुछ साल बीते तो मैंने वो छोड़, आई थिंक 9th या 8th में मैंने स्टार्ट किया था. और क्योंकि फिर मैं रेगुलर नहीं था उसमें, तब वो ऐसे पोस्ट आते थे कि इसको लाइक करो तो $1 डोनेट होगा किसी बच्चे को अफ्रीका में उसकी पढ़ाई के लिए, वैसे वैसे एड्स आते थे उसमें. तो फिर मुझे लगा कि something, there it takes a lot of time to reach simplicity, which is the ultimate aim of art sometimes, right? When
Right,
you
right.
done all of this dabbling with complexity, you try to move towards a very simple thing that would click. So that's when besan ka halwa just randomly started.
हाँ हाँ हाँ. I totally resonate with that जो आपने बोला है, क्योंकि when you are starting out ना, in a lot of ways, I do not know, ये बहुत intentional होता है, ये unconsciously हो जाता है that
Hmm.
there is this ick, not ick actually, there is this desire for difference, and you deliberately convolute stuff, your own stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then when you do it for a long time, you now have a desire for belonging, if I'm not mistaken. So you really want
Yeah.
to simplify stuff in a way that others could relate and resonate with you, with what you have made, right? अब
Hmm.
आपको stand out नहीं करना है, अब आपको belong करना है मेरे हिसाब से, and I could be wrong. और मैंने recently I was reading this lecture, जो अब बुक में ट्रांसक्राइब कर दिया गया एक, है ना.
Mm-hmm.
जब नॉम चॉम्स्की इंडिया आए थे 1996 में,
Mm-hmm.
so he delivered 2 to 3 lectures here, और उसमें he started with this thing only: anything which can be simply said should be said simply. It should, and he's a philosopher in that sense, right? If he's saying that stuff, it would definitely mean something, right? I'm not
A philosopher, yeah, a linguist primarily,
I
right?
think
So,
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And I'm not only saying or quoting him because he's a credible source of authority, but he makes a
mm,
lot of sense as well, right? तो
mm,
उस हिसाब से मुझे लगा कि हाँ कुछ तो सही बोल ही रहे हैं ये जो सुन सकता है इंसान, इसीलिए. तो हाँ, तो फिर मैंने वो ब्लॉग लिखना शुरू किया, एंड कमिंग बैक टू द सेम थिंग जो आपने बोला, बोर्डम से ही क्रिएटिविटी आती है. मेरे केस में वो ऐसा था कि मैंने ब्लॉग ब्लॉग लिखना शुरू किया, बट इनिशियली इट वाज सिर्फ इमिटेशन. मुझे नहीं पता, बट आई रियली बिलीव अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु डू आर्ट, दे स्टार्ट डूइंग इट इन अ लॉट ऑफ वेज थ्रू इमिटेशन पहले. सो इमिटेशन कम्स फर्स्ट,
I
एंड
mean,
देन.
that's maybe we realize that, the way, firstly, originality becomes an illusion, but you are finding your own voice in that process. But वो start तो imitation से ही होगा, because
हाँ.
that is where you start belonging to a certain school or certain signature style of people you've, you know, liked. Like Tarantino की तो अब तक movies नहीं है. A very good assembling of very in-depth analysis of imitation of scenes that have already happened, twisting it making things your own, grabbing things from outside, collecting them in a whole, building your own universe, and then making it your own.
और टैरेंटिनो ने ये एक इंटरव्यू में बोला था ना, वेरी along similar lines he was talking about Sergio Leone, right, the good bad and the ugly and once upon a time in the West. And
Yeah,
he says that these two movies more or less are filmmaking schools for me or for anyone out there. And then we
yeah,
could see here and there references that he draws from Sergio Leone, right, in a lot of ways. तो
yeah. No,
तो
that for
that
sure.
thing, हाँ, तो मैंने तो पता नहीं, एक तो एक राइटिंग, और पता है मुझे ना बिल्कुल भी शर्म नहीं आ रही है ये बोलने में कि लाइक आई हैव स्टार्टेड डूइंग अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स बिकॉज ऑफ योर कंटेंट इन अ लॉट ऑफ वेज। तो मैंने ब्लॉग पोस्ट वहां से शुरू किया, वो मैंने तोड़ मोड़ के अब मैं दोबारा से एक नया ब्लॉग पोस्ट चलाता हूँ जिसमें आई राइट माय फिलोसॉफिकल म्यूजिंग्स, इट्स कॉल्ड kalakan.blogspot.com, राइट। मुझे मुझे खुद में, और ये बहुत ही वियर्ड कॉम्बिनेशन है कि कला स्टैंड्स फॉर आर्ट इन अ लॉट ऑफ वेज, एंड मैंने कांड का कंद बना दिया, राइट, कांड का कंद, तो वो कलाकंद हो गया ऐसे, और कुछ भी है मुझे नहीं पता क्या है, बट है, इट हैज नो मीनिंग। और
No, it has a lot of meaning. It has so many meanings that come together. Like it might be delicious because of the art that you're putting in, and can't maybe because you're collecting it and compiling it in a way, right? So
हाँ,
it out to be a
राइट राइट,
desert.
हाँ, एक तो ये वाला कांड भी हो गया, एक वो कांड भी हो गया जो लाइक आप करते हो एज लाइक हरकतें आपकी, राइट, आपने कुछ क्यों ही किया है ये, एक वो वाला कांड भी हो गया, तो इट
The
कैन हैव अ लॉट ऑफ
act of
मीनिंग।
art.
Yes, yes, yes. See, this could be a tagline precisely. Or about the boredom part, my question. I mean, हम यही प्रॉब्लम है, पता है, प्रॉब्लम भी नहीं है, क्या पता अच्छी बात भी है, बट I start talking about a thing and then I digress from that thing, and मैं घूम फिर के फिर वापस आना to answer that question which could have
God,
been answered, but
like Michael Scott.
like Michael Scott, do you still watch The Office?
Yeah, yeah. It's one of the
डेली
greatest.
खाना खाते हुए वही चलता है।
वो नहीं हो वही मैं खाना खाते हुए नहीं eating food especially alone is such a spiritual exercise for me that I बचपन में तो मैं टीवी देखते देखते ही खाता था but now it has become a habit for me to just like absorb every bite that I'm having so not while but yeah shorts के through YouTube और वो सब जो आता है मेरी feed पे ही The Office ही आता रहता है बार बार वो algorithm से तो रिवाइज होता रहता है
तो आप अभी मतलब while eating you watch nothing, right? Zero,
समटाइम्स आई
right?
माइट लाइक हियर समथिंग रिसेंटली जब ये टेस्ट हो रहा था आई थिंक जब सिराज और ये बैटिंग कर रहे थे ना जडेजा तब आई
Mhm.
वाज व्हाइल ईटिंग आई वाज लिसनिंग टू द रेडियो मैच का बहुत टाइम बाद रेडियो पे कमेंट्री चल रही थी दूरदर्शन की आई थिंक या ऑल इंडिया रेडियो सॉरी ऑल इंडिया रेडियो वर ऑल लाइक दे वर commenting every second of the match though it was interesting 1 hour जब बचा था तो वो रिसेंटली तो मैं वही सुन रहा था बट हाँ रैंडमली कुछ सुन लेता हूँ पर देखता नहीं हूँ
राइट,
खा
मुझे बीच में हो गई थी आदत खाना खाते हुए संसद टीवी देखने की, पता नहीं क्यों, बहुत ही एडिक्टिव हो गया था वो, बट फिर मैंने छोड़ दिया देखना एक पॉइंट के
मैं
बाद।
उसमें प्रिपरेशन के टाइम तो टेली शॉपिंग का एडिक्ट हो गया था टेली शॉपिंग देखता था मैं खाते हुए तो क्योंकि
टीवी शॉपिंग, जो टीवी पे एड्स आते थे, वो वाली टेली शॉपिंग,
नाप
नाप
तोल
तो नाप तो, हाँ।
हाँ तो क्योंकि इट्स लाइक आई एम एक्चुअली आई एम a big fan of their skills, how fast they speak, right? I'm a very slow speaker, so I would never be able to be on Napto. That's for sure. So the way their diction and their clarity and their ability to keep repeating things and still make them interesting is is quite appreciable. I think even on teleshopping, I mean, I don't think many people would agree with me. ऐसा मुझे लगता था खाते हुए कि वाह अब ये एक ही कंबल बेच रहे हैं लेकिन कितनी तरह से बेच रहे हैं भाई वाह
राइट राइट, ये तो ऐसा ही करते हैं फिर, वील टॉक वेरी स्लो बिकॉज a part of me is nervous actually, and I say this to a lot of people I talk, right? Because मैं address कर लेता हूँ अगर कुछ होता है awkward, तो इतना सोच के फिर और खराब हो जाता है. तो a part of me is nervous, so we'll talk slow, we'll go slow, है ना?
ठीक
कुछ
है.
रश नहीं करेंगे क्योंकि आई लाइक दैट वे. जिसको देखना होगा वो देखेगा, जिसको नहीं देखना होगा वो वैसे भी नहीं देखेगा, तो कुछ भी करने पे. सो
Cool.
या हाँ. तो सबसे पहली चीज जो आपने मेंशन करी थी, द बोर्डम वाला पार्ट. माय
Hmm.
क्वेश्चन इज, अभी
Hmm.
व्हेन यू आर वर्किंग, पोस्टिंग है, यू कम बैक टू होम, यू हैव अ लॉट ऑफ वर्क टू डू, and
Hmm.
in the span of 7 years, I believe, right? It has been 7 years, more or less, right?
6. Yeah.
6 years. You wrote a book already, essays, PTO, and then you wrote another book जो भी आने वाली है ना? So
Hmm.
ये सब करने के लिए आपको टाइम कब मिल रहा है, right? What is a time that you're getting bored now?
So the thing is, boredom is not exactly what we perceive it as, right? It's not a block of time where अरे कुछ नहीं हो रहा है लाइफ में, क्या मैं, जो लोग बिजी रहते हैं ना, उनको भी बोर्डम ये इसी प्रोसेस में फील हो सकता है. नॉट नेसेसरली टू बी not working or not focusing on a particular thing. Ideas just come randomly while you're staring at a wall or just doing your own thing at work. It might just strike you anytime, anywhere. Now, right now, the challenge of tackling boredom becomes when you you have dedicated yourself to that idea. Boredom does not start with कि मैं कुछ नहीं कर रहा हूँ तो एक आइडिया आता है, बट द आइडिया स्ट्राइक्स, बट वंस यू डेडिकेट योरसेल्फ टू दैट आइडिया एंड स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन इट, it becomes, that's why writer's blocks are, they happen, and the process becomes a little bogging down or boring to you. So sustaining the interest in that idea, wait, a lot of writers would just start doing things and then leave that projects, right? Abandoning तो बहुत सारा होता है. मेरे पास इतनी स्क्रिप्ट्स हैं जो मैंने पूरी ही नहीं की क्योंकि either my conviction stopped or like I got bored of continuing to the same idea. But I think the challenge more is to, rather than boredom giving, like boredom being conducive to that original idea, it's more like boredom being conducive to the challenge being the process of writing further. मतलब finishing that or like continuing that or ending your sentences in a way that you've
Hmm.
started.
Hmm.
तो ये तो बचपन में तो आई थिंक जब वेकेशंस होता था या we didn't have much to do or we didn't have phones at that time, of course boredom would have have a huge role to play in the springing up of ideas. But right now in this age of being bombarded by reels and shorts all the time, social media, I think boredom has a very different definition now. People can be just engaged in scrolling, but are they being bored or are they? That's the question here, right? It's
Hmm.
वो बोर हो रहे हैं या क्यों कर रहे हैं स्क्रॉल. It's a very different definition now, I guess.
Is it just
Or maybe because that we yeah,
no, 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 please continue. I just had a follow-up question, but please continue, please complete it.
maybe the act of scrolling, we think that we are doing something, but at the end, brain rot का ये है कि it is filling space for your boredom, right?
Haha.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe boredom has changed a lot. That's the point I want to make, basically. The
Right.
nature of
So
boredom.
about boredom, right? Do you see boredom, as of now, as an isolated event that happens, or do you get bored of something? For example, मैं reels scroll कर रहा हूँ, मैं shorts scroll कर रहा हूँ, है ना? तो
Hmm.
एक point आता है when you are fatigued by it, right? When you're fatigued and you still keep going, right? So
Yeah.
that feeling, is it boredom precisely that you're bored of the things but you have no other way because it has become a habit now that you just keep scrolling? Or are you just fatigued by it? What is it? Or are these the same things, right? Being fatigued by watching
I
reels?
think they are
Or
yeah, I think dono hi hai. Depends on I think depends on person to person and how conscious you are of what you're doing and why you're doing. But I think both of them stand true for different cases, depending upon the person and the situation. Yeah,
hmm, hmm.
yeah.
Right. So about writing again, क्योंकि आपने पिछले 6 महीने से तो कुछ अपलोड भी नहीं किया यूट्यूब पे. The last
Hmm.
was भटक जाओ भाई. That was the last thing you uploaded on YouTube, and I'm
Yeah.
sure you must have been busy. But about the book, when did you get the time to write? Were you writing every day, और या ये सिर्फ weekend का काम था, या हर दिन 1 घंटा निकाल के लिख लेते थे?
I think it depends on the kind of book you're writing. For essays PTO, it was a very different process. And for this book, it was very different because that was non-fiction and I had a structure of how to go about it, what type of chapters I wanted to keep, what idea I wanted to explore in what chapter. But this one is fiction. Actually, it's like most fiction, it is based on real life events and real people. But it's sometimes the flow of the story is that you are not the one who's dictating the pace of the writing, right? It is the story itself. It will tell you when to go fast, when to go slow, when to not write, when to review, and when to not, go ahead with an idea you have or the options you have for the story to branch out into certain parts. कि कब करना है, किधर जाना है, क्या करना है. वो book starts dictating to you after maybe the first 3-4 chapters are your own, but then when the characters are established, they have their own life. The book has its own life. So
Hmm.
so it was sometimes I would write after coming back from office, like very little, maybe 1,000 words, 500 words, if the scene is getting, because it's not dialogue heavy. Depends on, some books are very, fast paced dialogue. I wanted to keep it like a little magically realistic, folk tale kind of pace to it. So it has a very third person uh, story, which is basically on climate induced migration of a human, like a laborer from Gujarat, and a tiger shark from Saint Helena. So like the Indian Ocean, it's a story across the Indian Ocean, how analogous both lives are. The shark is escaping, turbulent ocean currents and the changes that are happening due to climate change, and the laborer in Gujarat who had his salt farms, damaged because of the untimely storms over there. They have migrated to, both are moving towards Seychelles. It's kind of that theme, but my main idea with that was like to have 115-page book because Seychelles has 115 islands. So I was very sure of the page count, but I wasn't sure of what I wanted to put right there. So I wanted to say a lot of things, explore a lot of themes, but in very short span of like words. So
Hmm.
that is the it took a lot of time in rereading, putting the right things at the right place, not going back because the number was so restricted, number of pages was restricted. So it's a small novella. I think anyone can read it on a flight from India to Seychelles or back. It's 4 hours. So that was the idea.
Did you decide on this beforehand, before writing the book, that it is supposed to be 115 pages long, or did it
Yeah.
come after? Yeah, yeah,
It
okay.
was
It
the
was decided.
random trivia that you hang on to, right? If all things are कि किताब बेकार भी लिखी है कोई बात नहीं, पेज तो पेज का कोई पॉइंट तो है ना। कोई
Right.
ट्रिब्यूट, कोई सेंस तो है इस किताब में, चाहे बाकी ना हो। 115 किस लिए थे, वो आइलैंड 115 में, चलो बस। Like these
Right.
little things do inspire you, right? Because you know that many people might not get the complex themes explored, but
Hmm.
almost everyone would get that, अच्छा एक किताब लिखी थी इस बंदे ने, 115 पेज इसलिए थे क्योंकि 115 आइलैंड है। तो yeah, it's
I truly agree. The trivia has a role to play. क्योंकि I'll tell you how it went in my case. आपके एक इंटरव्यू में आपने बोला था कि you were asked that why you want to be an IFS officer, and you said because of Adventure of Tintin, right? That was the reason. The first movie experience I had in a theater was watching Steven Spielberg's Adventure of Tintin in 2011. वो मेरा पहला मूवी एक्सपीरियंस था।
Wednesday पे आया था, 14th I think November, 12th November, ऐसे कब रिलीज हुई थी वो। I
हाँ
went for
शायद।
first day first show.
और यू
Yeah.
डिड हाँ। फर्स्ट डे फर्स्ट शो पता नहीं, पर मैंने यहाँ देखी थी जो कैंपस के बगल में विजयनगर है, उसमें वहां पे एक अम्बा सिनेमा हॉल है।
हाँ,
आपने
अम्बा तो
हाँ हाँ आपने अम्बा
बहुत
सिनेमा हॉल में
फेमस।
मूवीज देखी है?
हाँ, पूरे कॉलेज टाइम में ज्यादातर मैंने वहां रंगून देखी है, रईस देखी है, फैन देखी है। मोस्ट ऑफ एसआर
हाँ
के मूवीज, लाइक सलमान मूवीज और हार्डकोर, मतलब जो क्राउड आता है ना, जो चिल्लाता है, उसके
हाँ।
लिए तो वही 75 रुपए की टिकट होती है। जिस रिक्शा में आप आते हो वो रिक्शा वाला भी आपके साथ बैठ के देखता है।
राइट राइट हाँ। एक
तो
एक विजयनगर वाला अम्बा सिनेमा हॉल और एक कश्मीर गेट में रिट्स, इफ आई एम नॉट गेटिंग द नेम रॉन्ग। हाँ तो स्कूल बंक करके मैं जाता था मूवीज देखने के लिए यहाँ पे। आई मीन आई डू नॉट एडवाइस दिस बट फन एक्सपीरियंस। तो दैट
टिंटिन का,
वाज
I think Tintin is being made further, right, by Peter Jackson or something. अभी आ रहे
oh
हैं
it
उसके
is it
पास।
is हाँ 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 I saw it on Twitter only somewhere though I'm not sure। अभी रिसेंटली मैंने आपका ट्वीट देखा था जिसमें यू टॉकिंग अबाउट बैटमैन 2 राइट बीइंग द सेकंड पार्ट एंड देन यू रोट की समथिंग इन द वे राइट साउंड ट्रैक को रेफरेंस में डाल के आई सॉ दैट एज वेल। तो तो दैट ट्रिविया यही था। हाँ और एक और ट्रिविया मेरे पास, बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग ट्रिविया राइट। आपकी लेटर बॉक्स की टॉप 4 फेवरेट फिल्म्स में से एक which is the act of killing by Werner Herzog if I'm not mistaken, यही डायरेक्टर है ना इसी के जिन्होंने ग्रिजली बियर
जोशुआ
बनाई है।
जोशुआ
जोशुआ
ओपनहाइमर।
ओपनहाइमर। तो जोशुआ ओपनहाइमर
वो
राइट
हमने
राइट फिर तो
शायद प्रोड्यूस किया
वर्न
उसने।
शायद प्रोड्यूस की है हाँ। अच्छा ओके, फिर तो ट्रिविया बेकार हो गया मेरा, फिर तो कोई पॉइंट ही नहीं।
क्यों, क्या
मेरा
था?
मेरा ट्रिविया ये था कि जो मेरी टॉप 4 फेवरेट फिल्म्स लेटर बॉक्स पे क्लोज अप, उसमें से एक है क्लोज अप अब्बास कियारोस्तामी की। तो वर्नर
कियारोस्तामी,
हर्ज़ोग को
महमूद
उसमें उसमें
मुखर्जी।
राइट 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 हाँ। तो उसमें खुलते ही एक कोट आता है ना राइट ट्रेलर में कि दिस इज द बेस्ट डॉक्यूमेंट्री फिक्शन एवर मेड और बेस्ट डॉक्यूमेंट्री फिल्म एवर मेड ऑन फिल्म मेकिंग एंड दिस इज अ कोट बाय वर्नर हर्ज़ोग राइट। So I thought, oh, this is a trivia again, but then it is not because Joshua
बट
Oppenheimer ने बनाई।
वर्नर हेrzog इज, आई मीन जोशुआ ओपनहाइमर ने तो बस यही बनाई है, पर हेrzog की तो पूरी फिल्मोग्राफी लेजेंडरी है।
हाँ आई एग्री। आपने कौन कौन सी फिल्म्स देखी है वर्नर हर्ज़ोग की? हैव यू सीन
हेrzog
द
की
ग्रिजली बेयर?
या द ग्रिजली मैन देखिए, केव ऑफ फॉरगॉटन ड्रीम्स। डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज में तो ये है, बाकी फायरबॉल, एनकाउंटर्स एट द एंड ऑफ द अर्थ, ऐसा कुछ, वो भी जो
हाँ हाँ।
प्लस जिसमें अंटार्कटिका में जाता है आई थिंक वो, और
हम्म
फिट्जकेराल्डो, आगिर द राथ ऑफ गॉड, ये ओरिजिनल उसकी मतलब फीचर लेंथ मूवीज थी। और बट द बेस्ट पार्ट इज समथिंग, हैव यू सीन वर्नर हेrzog eats his shoe?
he eats his
He eats his shoe.
shoe in a
Yeah, so
film.
yeah, yeah, it's very no for real. So basically, Errol Morris, the documentary filmmaker, and Werner Herzog had this bet. तो एरल मॉरिस एक मूवी बना रहा था, गेट्स ऑफ हेवन, जो एक पेट सिमेटरी के बारे में, आई थिंक वेरनॉन या किसी स्टेट में एक पेट सिमेटरी के बारे में एक मूवी थी, जिसमें वो बहुत टाइम से बना रहा था। तो वेर्नर हेrzog ने बोला कि ये मूवी पूरी नहीं होगी कभी, क्योंकि इसका प्रेमिस ऐसा कुछ है, लॉजिस्टिकली जो भी रीजंस थे। उसने बोला इफ दिस फिल्म एवर गेट्स कंप्लीटेड आई विल ईट माय शू, एंड द फिल्म गॉट completed and he invited an audience to an open session in a theater. और उस पे YouTube पे भी आई थिंक देयर इज एन 8 minute video how he boils his leather shoes and he eats his shoes, like one shoe, I think. He eats the shoe with like fork and knife in front of the audience.
Oh, I had no idea about this. I
अरे
mean, he chews it and digests it, or he uh,
हाँ, first I think he boils it for like 4.5 hours or something. वो भी वो बता रहा है उस वीडियो में. So it's Werner Herzog eats his shoe. I think that's
wow.
exactly the name. I'm not sure of the name, but I think that's the name. But he's done such exceptional work apart from cinema that he's such an interesting personality. उसने बहुत random.
वो वो wow. मुझे
हाँ,
समझ भी नहीं आ रहा कि मैं इस पे रिएक्ट ही कैसे करूँ, ये तो थोड़ा
देखना
प्रोसेस करने
जाके.
में. हाँ,
For
मैं
many,
देखूंगा जाके.
for most of the people, he's only like, अरे ये तो Mandalorian में था, Star Wars. But that's just
हाँ,
like
हाँ.
nothing. The work he's
Even
done.
that is the image I also have of him. मतलब वो एक पॉपुलर नैरेटिव वाला इमेज. या मैक्स टू मैक्स मेरे को ये पता है कि उन्होंने एक एपिसोड में पार्क्स एंड रिक्रिएशन जो शो
Daniel.
है, तो उसमें ही हैड एन अपीयरेंस. दैट्स द बेस्ट आई नो अबाउट हिम.
I haven't seen Parks and Rec, but Greg Daniels का नया शो आ रहा है, The Paper.
द पीपल.
It's
हाँ हाँ हाँ, उसमें ऑस्कर भी है जो ऑफिस में थे.
शायद
राइट राइट.
ट्रेलर
एंड ही
नहीं देखा.
ट्रेलर में भी, and he's like, I'm not going to do this again, right? And at the end, the cameraman says, I'll not use it, right? It will go unused. And then he says something, and he's like, use this now. I'm like, yeah, sure. तो हाँ, वो देखा था, मैंने देखा था, ट्रेलर देखा था, अभी तो आया था, कुछ दिन पहले आया, राइट. यही होता है. देखा, मैं यही बोल रहा था कि you're talking about your writing process, and now we are discussing the paper.
Even I had one more issue to talk about. So Herzog made Nosferatu, and Nosferatu was like remade recently. Did you watch that? Robert Eggers wali.
I did not. I did not.
I highly recommend. It is, I think, Oscars do snub very deserving movies anyways. वो तो awards ऐसे ही होते हैं. But Nosferatu is worth watching. It's very.
Were you happy with the Brutalist winning the Oscar? You were like कि हाँ, एकदम सही मूवी को मिला ऑस्कर, इस पे मिलना चाहिए था.
नहीं, ब्रूटलिस्ट को तो बस डायरेक्टर और एक्टर का मिला ना. अनोरा को मिला बेस्ट फिल्म, तो आई थिंक.
हाँ, बेस्ट मूवी का मिला है. हाँ हाँ हाँ.
I don't agree with most of the awards given. I think that's the point of awards, to just miff some audiences, and some of them would be angry कि उनके बंदे को नहीं मिला. Whether it be national awards or Oscars or any Kamla Pasand awards, कुछ भी. But I think हाँ, जब मैं छोटा था तो मुझे बहुत फर्क पड़ता था कि वो इसको कैसे नहीं, बैलोन डोर इसको क्यों नहीं मिल रहा, इसको अवार्ड क्यों नहीं दिया जा रहा, इसको भारत रत्न क्यों नहीं मिला. बट लाइक अगर इतने सारे डिजर्विंग लोगों को नहीं मिलता इवन नॉमिनेशन, सो
हाँ
इट्स
हाँ.
टू बी
Even I was even please complete it. Yes yes.
I think just to see their work is, and be able to spread the word to, check this out, would the biggest award some people can get actually. So I think time,
Even
बहुत सारी फिल्में हैं जो जिनको इग्नोर कर दिया. अब सब अंडररेटेड जो टर्म है, वो सब आधे ट्विटर सिनेमा चैनल्स उसी पे चल रहे हैं कि दिस मूवी डिजर्व्ड मोर, दिस मूवी डिजर्व्ड मोर.
right. Yeah, I have a question based on that, but I'll first tell what I was upset about. For a very good period of time in my life, very teenage years, man, I was very upset about that. क्रिस्टोफर नॉलन हैड वन नो ऑस्कर. मुझे नहीं पता क्यों, क्योंकि ये बहुत ही क्लीशे साउंड करेगा, मगर मुझे बहुत ही बुरा लगा था कि ओ इंटरस्टेलर बनाई, इसने इंसेप्शन बनाई, कुछ नहीं मिला मतलब किसी भी चीज के लिए. बट देन नाउ व्हेन आई सॉ Oppenheimer this year, which I was not very impressed by, पता नहीं क्यों. It was a good movie, I'm not saying बहुत अच्छी मूवी थी, मगर मैं इतना खुश नहीं हुआ देख के मूवी जितना मैं बाकी मूवीज देख के थोड़ा अमेज हो गया था. और फिर ओपनहाइमर को ऑस्कर दे दिया तुम लोगों ने. एंड द ओनली thing I liked about two things I liked about the movie was one, Cillian Murphy, of course, right,
Yeah.
and the second was Ludwig
Good
Göransson का म्यूजिक, राइट.
soundtrack.
कैन यू हियर द म्यूजिक?
Yeah.
वो साउंड ट्रैक बहुत अच्छा था, बहुत अच्छा. तो
That's because I think because of Hans Zimmer. Because Hans Zimmer was doing Dune, so I think
हाँ,
Goranson got the opportunity to do Tenet with Nolan, and then Nolan repeated him for Oppenheimer. Maybe I, yeah,
right. About
yeah.
Hans
I
Zimmer, are you excited seeing the collab between Hans Zimmer and A.R. Rahman?
हाँ, but देखते हैं. अभी पहला तो ट्रैक आया तो अच्छा ही है. बाकी एल्बम आती है तो देखते हैं. I don't know.
हाँ.
Maybe it'll be.
मेरा
But
सेकंड, मेरा क्वेश्चन. हाँ, प्लीज प्लीज प्लीज. ये थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन हो
Hans,
रहा है, बट
Hans Zimmer before Nolan and after Nolan is, I think Nolan has a huge role to play in the sound that people associate Hans Zimmer with was not the sound he used. Just F1 में जो use हो रहा है,
हाँ
he
हाँ
did
हाँ.
Days of Thunder, maybe it was Hans Zimmer, or Rain Man, maybe it was Hans Zimmer. The 90s Hans Zimmer is very different from, I think, the Batman trilogy Hans Zimmer. So
Even the last samurai में भी Hans Zimmer का म्यूजिक है, if I'm not mistaken. हाँ, right. हाँ.
his use of, I think, वही shepherd tones और वो सब वो बाद में शुरू हुआ. तो most people like our generation especially who have a personal stake in Nolan's success कि ये यही बंदा है, यही डायरेक्टर है. तो
हाँ
हमको लगता
हाँ.
है for us Hans Zimmer is only the post trilogy Hans Zimmer mostly, but he's done some. Lion King is also very different. That's Hans Zimmer. So,
Yes.
yeah, but yeah, you shouldn't be ashamed of being that कि Nolan को मिल गया. अरे his he is one of the first directors who pan across the world wanted the audience to live up to its smartness. Like, you are a smart audience, you felt smart
Yes.
watching his movie. That many directors didn't, because especially in India where you have to create cinema for the masses sometimes and make everything comprehensible and spoon feed the audience कि कुछ में भी
हम्म.
किलर है तो सबको बताना चाहिए कि काजोल किलर ही है. पर for him it's like you deserve better as an audience. I know you are smarter than this. वो तो हमें भी पहली बारी में शायद इंटरस्टेलर समझ नहीं आई होगी, इंसेप्शन कहीं वो समझ नहीं आई होगी, टेनेट मुझे अब तक
मुझे
समझ नहीं आई, लेकिन मुझे बहुत पसंद है. कुछ समझ नहीं आए कोई बात नहीं. आई थिंक दैट्स नॉट अ पैरामीटर टू जज अ मूवी आल्सो समटाइम्स, राइट? इट्स नहीं
राइट.
समझ आया क्या, कोई बात नहीं, मूवी तो अच्छी है ना.
आप एकदम
But yeah,
सही बोल
Oppenheimer I
रहे
don't like much. Maybe because I read the book already, American
हो.
Prometheus. That's why if you read the book, you will feel like ये तो summary है, एक तरह से executive summary.
He's working on something right now, है ना? Odyssey. He's working on Odyssey right now. Nolan, if I'm not
Odyssey.
wrong.
Yeah.
Right. हाँ हाँ. और
People are going
you do
crazy,
have a
but
point.
it's not the first time.
राइट. हाँ, राइट. और पता है, यू डू हैव अ पॉइंट व्हेन यू से दिस, क्योंकि इंडिया में ना, मुझे नहीं पता, बट डायरेक्टर्स see themselves as very different from the audiences, right? And then the audience also in response sees the director very distant from them, and therefore they make cinema and they're like कि नहीं ये तो लेमैन को समझ ही नहीं आएगा ये सिनेमा, तो हमको डम्ब डाउन करना पड़ेगा ये सिनेमा, तभी वो लोग समझ पाएंगे ये क्या है नहीं है. But yeah, but ठीक है.
Sometimes maybe it's not the director, it's also the producer and other forces involved, right? They are apprehensive ki so maybe it's not always just the director, but yeah, there is a self censorship kind of a thing कि ये चीज समझ आएगी ये नहीं आएगी क्या पता ये नहीं करते मे बी आई डोंट नो आई एम just a film buff guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But many people have also spoken about this, no, in interviews. Even directors and writers have, that the producer becomes a defining force for a film in a way. Yes. हाँ. तो ये सब तो ठीक है. अब मेरा actual पहला question, right? And none of this is premeditated, right? मैंने कुछ नहीं सोचा ये सब, क्योंकि मुझे लग रहा था कि मैं अगर आपके साथ बैठ के बात करूंगा, if I think of questions, it would be of no use. I have to be more spontaneous that way, right? So when I read SASPTO the very first time, and there's a trivia again with the book. I'll tell you at the very end, which goes off record because I cannot tell it to you अभी जब ये record हो रहा है तो, है ना? And so the first chapter is about the history of paper. I mean, that's not the name of the chapter, but you're more or less concerned with that detail. I forgot the name of the
Wasting.
chapter. My
A brief
wasting
history
paper.
of wasting.
Yes, paper. Yes, yes. So my question is, why are you wasting paper again?
So that's the point. Like to reach a certain stage or level in life to be heard, you have to waste a certain amount of paper. That's why with this book, especially, I went ahead with a very limited release. Even now in the stock, a few hundred copies would be left, but I have uploaded it on my blog. That's why to make the point that if even if I want to, it's like the Russell's paradox. Ki jo, I mean, to convey a point of wasting paper, you have to waste paper itself, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not wasting it after a certain limit, but when the point has been made, now anyone can access the PDF. So that I made the point, and that's it. And plus, it's a tongue-in-cheek thing. It's a sarcastic thing. So that also works that way. But yeah,
Yes.
anyone can access it for free now.
How many
No
copies
more
are
wasting
out there
paper.
for the new book? How many copies are you planning to publish for this one? What's the book called? Can we know that at least? What's the book called?
It's called
No.
Shark Chutney. Yeah, Shark Chutney.
Sham?
But yeah, further information. I think it's on. If you Google Shark Chutney, you might get a link of the book already, but it's not active yet. But you can still see it that it is there.
चटनी मतलब वो समोसे वाली
So
चटनी.
Shark chutney is actually a delicacy of Seychelles, where the shark is shredded and it's a dish. So yeah,
Right.
that's the name.
शार्क चटनी. हाँ, पहली वाली किताब का नाम था SASPTO. इसका नाम है शार्क
Yeah.
चटनी. Very creative. Yeah. I mean, nobody who would like to be taken seriously, right, by writing a book, because I think that is what people do when they write a book, would name their books with such creative, unusual titles.
Sometimes I
Um,
feel that that's the dichotomy I have in mind. Sometimes I feel while I'm writing, I wish people understand this, and the other half of my brain is like, I wish they don't. So yeah.
right. Yeah. Uh, Are you deliberately trying to conceal something when you say the other part? Ki, I don't wish people to understand this. Because I understood a
That's
lot of it when I read SASPTO, right? I mean, this the undertones to the text or the things that were here and there, the referential things.
yeah. People, yeah,
जिसको
it's your book now. I mean, even in SSPTO, whatever you understand, it's yours to keep. The book is not mine anymore. It's out in the
right,
open. I think that's what I believe. Everyone is a writer, and some people just end up putting their thoughts on paper, and it just formalizes. But वो idea किसी को भी आ सकता है, और कोई भी I mean, it's a matter of that one neuron blipping in those millions and you considering it important enough to just writing it down. People don't do that. I just did that. So that doesn't take away from the fact that it can be thought by anyone who's at that place at that point of time, maybe. So once a book is out, I believe that it's for it's the readers. Equally, it belongs to the readers, and I mean even more because I might be busy on working on something else, but the readers are actually people who are living that experience or like relating it to it or relating to it or like reading it at that point of time. So it's theirs more than mine after it's
I
out.
mean, acha, okay. This becomes the part where you say ki it happened, right? And now it belongs to the reader. Uh,
Yeah.
but then the question arises: why do you write? Was it always a part of the plan? शुरू से कि किताबें तो
Uh,
लिखनी है. Was it always that?
nahi. It's something that made me feel lighter
Hmm.
in a way because if I have a thought and I want to work on it rather than keeping everything, I am terrible with preserving things. Like my memory is good, but it's not really so efficient that I would think up stories and then for my own entertainment I would just forget them later. But I thought that maybe the burden that is on the brain to just get it out. It's a catharsis slash maybe a means for some productivity that would derive meaning for me. It's only like I find it meaningful. That's all. Like there's
That's
nothing
all.
more.
And you're not concerned about the response that you get, or are you somewhere? I'm sure you might be.
Not so much because I mean I am I would love people to just read it and even if they want to abuse me or they don't like the book, that is equally good for me. If you've just read my work, I feel that you've given some respect. And
Right.
if you have feedback, it's always welcome. But rather than correcting things in the book, I would just agree that, oh, it's just a flawed piece of work. Let it be that way. I mean, sometimes, yes, I think I initially when essays PTO came out and I thought maybe some revisions can be done, but I was like, it has been written in a certain space and a certain time for a certain uh, people by a certain author. Let it just be that piece of work in subject to that time period, not like
Hmm.
tamper with it. It's the same approach with this book as well. Like I rewriting, all rewriting should happen before it's out. Basically, once it's out, it's yours. If you hate it, well, it's yours to keep.
And you're also making this point essays PTO में भी, right? ये तो
Uh,
पहले ही प्रीफेज में ही या उसके इंट्रोडक्शन में ये पॉइंट you're already making, right? हाँ, आप बोर नहीं हो रहे हो ना कॉन्वर्सेशन से? Tell me that better,
nahi.
right? You
Are
you
you
don't.
getting? Because sometimes
No,
I
I'm not getting.
okay.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
just getting the impression कि कहीं ना कहीं I'm being honest, right? कि maybe you have talked about it already, तो थोड़ा अजीब नहीं हो रहा होगा वापस,
नहीं
मुझे नहीं
नहीं.
पता. हाँ, ठीक है, हाँ.
In fact, I haven't talked about why I wrote essays PTO,
Right.
which
Why
was
did you write essays?
basically it was the I wanted to write something. I have written a lot of other scripts too, manuscripts, and they didn't work out because I myself was like, I have this privilege of writing a book. Does that even mean anything? Like, why should I even be writing or reading for that matter? When, you know,
Right.
if an idea I want to express in 280 pages, that idea can be expressed in one reel of just 40 seconds. What's the point of even writing? So then it's just an exercise I took with myself to explore how meaningful reading and writing still is, or is it even that meaningful? So that's why that exploratory ambition was converted into this book. That's because once it's out of my way that, writing provides meaning to my life, some purpose to my life, makes me worth, living, or keep to look forward to something in life. Writing is that for me. So just to take that away first, like that big barrier of self doubt, I wrote this book. Now it's past me, so I'm much more comfortable in continuing to write by acknowledging the privilege that I have, right? Otherwise, it'll all be self-congratulatory and देखो क्या क्या मैंने क्या लिख दिया मैंने क्या कर दिया जिंदगी में ये वो. I didn't want it to be that. First was like, why should I be writing? What is the point? So that is
आप
why.
जो आप जो बोल रहे हो ना, दिस इज वेरी similar and antithetical to what Vinod Kumar Shukla would say, right? Or a quote I heard somewhere which went like, writers write to taste life twice, right? But what I deduce from you saying things to me right now is that you write mainly to forget about things, which is like कि चलो अभी हो गया, अब इसके बारे में अब नहीं सोचना पड़ेगा, या नहीं सोचना पड़ेगा तो it would be about the book but not about the things that have
Or
been written.
yeah,
But विनोद शुक्ल अपने उस चार फूल है और दुनिया में जो उनकी रिसेंट डॉक्यूमेंट्री आई है उसमें वो बोल रहे हैं कि बहुत कुछ इंसान भूल जाता है. आई एम पैराफ्रेजिंग ऑफ कोर्स, राइट, बट इंसान लिखता है कि उन चीजों को याद कर सके, है ना? तो उस
yeah.
वे में बहुत ही ऑपोजिट है आपका ये पॉइंट, बट काफी इंटरेस्टिंग है.
पर
यू राइट टू
पर
फॉरगेट.
पॉइंट सेम है. I mean, ये पॉइंट जरूर अलग होगा, but how he is also very clear in saying that the amount of rewriting he did or does is insane, right? He rewrote all his poetry, but once it was out there, it was just out there. He never edited it again. वो भी वो बताते हैं मूवी कि एक बार जब चला गया तो फिर वो मेरे पाठकों का है, वो उनकी ही होगी, वो एक स्मृति बन चुकी है, तो उसको चेंज करना वो वो सही नहीं समझते. मतलब जैसा मैंने समझा मूवी में उन्होंने जो कहा
हाँ,
कि एक
बट
बार मैं 100 बार लिखूंगा उसको दोबारा लिखूंगा, लेकिन एक बार जब छप गया है तो वो छप गया.
right, and he would make no edits to it. But you see, this only comes from the privilege, and I say the word privilege बहुत सोच समझ
हाँ,
के कि
हाँ,
only if you do not have that curiosity to go back to your work over and over again, right? अगर आपने एक बार पब्लिश करके बाहर भेज दिया तो it's done, right? But then ये बहुत ही अजीब लगेगा सुनने में, but then there is a self-centered desire that you want to read what you have written, right? और maybe see कि ओ ये कैसा था, या जो मैंने बनाया है वो बार बार देखना. ऐसे बहुत लोग हैं जो बोलते हैं कि I never watch my films, right? I never watch the interviews I do. I'm not that kind, right? But I never read the books I wrote. So that way you would never regret anything you did because जो हो गया सो हो गया, and that's a very good way to go about things in the creative field. Did you
हाँ.
ever read essays PTO again after you have published it, or do you watch your films again जो आपने YouTube पे डाल दिए कुछ भी?
I watch all of my stuff again and again, not because I'm self-centered कि ये ना मैंने लिखा है, but because
हाँ,
with time everything gets reinterpreted. So I'm very cautious of the way it might come across to newer readers. I even reread my tweets. I reread my YouTube poems. I rewatch my stuff so that from a different perspective, at least कि इसमें कुछ गलत तो नहीं बोल दिया मैंने, या कुछ अलग तो नहीं समझ आ जाएगा लोगों को. वो है बस. Only because of that I did not have this habit earlier, but now because people take offense in very little things, sometimes you just have to, I try to see my own writing multiple perspectives. कि अगर ऐसा हुआ तो अगर कोई ये बंदा ऐसा पढ़ेगा तो उसको ये तो नहीं समझ आएगा. या वही मैं कह रहा था ना कि अगर मैं जब लिख रहा हूँ आधा दिमाग मेरा चाहता है कि ये लोगों को समझ आ जाए मैं क्या लिख रहा हूँ, लेकिन आधा दिमाग चाहता है कि भाई अगर समझ आ गया तो पता नहीं क्या समझ जाएंगे। तो इसीलिए मैं तो करता हूँ। आई समटाइम्स व्हेनेवर आई गेट टाइम or randomly or people send it back, I try to be just to be very, I mean, observant and mindful that my single track perspective might be just wrong, right? Matlab, yeah. So that's why. That's
But
why.
don't you think
I
all
do.
the other
पर ऐसा कभी नहीं
right?
हुआ कि करना पड़ा या कुछ ऐसा तो नहीं हुआ है क्योंकि मैं उस स्टेज पे
The
काफी
state,
देखता हूँ
the
दोबारा।
state you are in, right? आपने बोला कि you take into account everything, or you think possibly कि कोई इंसान क्या समझेगा इस text से, right? And you also mentioned at the beginning कि uh, the loss of conviction was the reason that you stopped writing a lot of manuscripts, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I really personally believe कि जब तक conviction नहीं होता आपके अंदर कोई चीज बनाने का, ये करने का, आप नहीं कर सकते। फिर तो आप बहुत ही प्रिटेंशियस बिहेवियर में इन्वॉल्व हो रहे हो कि बनाने के लिए बना दिया कुछ मैंने, राइट? बट इफ यू ट्रूली मीन
so
इट, यू कैन नॉट डू इट। सो
like you said no, for 6 months I haven't uploaded anything because I don't feel like doing. That's why like सब कुछ like I mean he's a questionable figure but Charles Bukowski का वो है ना, so you want to be a writer, I mean
यस,
you don't do it till you feel like it's bursting out of you, otherwise
राइट,
it's just manufactured कि अच्छा अभी बहुत चीजें आधी लिखी हुई छूट जाती हैं क्योंकि आप रिविजिट करते हो तो आपको लगता है क्या बकवास लिख रहा है भाई, ये क्या पॉइंट है इसका। अगर इट्स नॉट ओनली द पॉइंट बट लाइक इट्स नॉट, आई डोंट believe in it anymore, sometimes that happens, and mostly it happens when you recognize the privilege that you are writing from, that maybe this was only written because someone else was taking care of my food, my living, my sustain, sustained lifestyle, and I was given the privilege of time to write. And once I am out of that and I see myself, I am not convinced with the idea that I'm working on. So I'm abandoning this. Maybe later I might feel ki nahi wo acha tha, let's get back to it. It was worthwhile. But from a third person standpoint, when you come back and see yourself writing that thing, that privilege, like whoa, what a waste of resource. And then you just that has happened a lot with me.
अब आपने भी बीच में यही बोलते हुए कि एक बात मेंशन करी, विच वाज, एक तो लैंग्वेज स्विच करने में बहुत डिफिकल्टी हो रही है, हाँ, विच वाज कि आई होप यू डोंट माइंड, आई टेक माय टाइम विद थिंकिंग, राइट, देन आई से इट, आपको प्रॉब्लम नहीं है तो,
What?
राइट?
कट
I'm
गया था
saying, I
क्या
hope you
बोला?
don't. I hope you don't mean, right. I take time while thinking and then I say it. मतलब एक ऐसे नहीं है कुछ। हाँ हाँ हाँ। तो आपने बीच में भी बोला था कि अगर एक रील है, right, which could say more about a specific topic than a 250-page book would, then why would you precisely write that book, है ना? And
Yeah.
the interesting part here is specifically about writers, and I was talking very similarly on the same line, right, with Vineet Gill, um, asking that writers, they do have a way of self prioritizing themselves, not themselves as in humans, but as their profession, and they think what they do is precisely
Yeah.
way more important than what other people would do, right? So, unlike you, I haven't met anyone who would say कि किताब लिखा तो ठीक है, मगर एक रील में अगर वो मिल रहा है 120 सेकंड में, तो रील ज्यादा बेटर है। कोई नहीं बोलेगा ये, because the moment you put out
लोग
what you
ये
have
बोलते
on
हैं ना,
paper, हाँ हाँ,
कई लोग ये बोलते हैं ना कि द बुक इज बेटर, मूवी देख के द बुक वाज बेटर। अरे ठीक है, आई मीन दैट्स अ डिफरेंट आर्ट फॉर्म, गुड, आई मीन if you have the privilege of spending 2 weeks on something that the other guy does not have, for more than 2 hours, you have no
Right.
right to. Yeah, you have right to express yourself, but then you don't have a right to demean what the other guy prefers on that basis, right? अगर मुझे हैरी पॉटर
Right.
जेके रावलिंग ने पितृदेव संरक्षणम नहीं लिखा और मुझे वही पसंद है, तो क्या करोगे?
हाँ,
मुझे तो निरस्त्र भव एक्सपेलियार्मस मुझे ठीक है पढ़ा है मैंने, लेकिन मुझे तो मजा निरस्त्र भव में ही आता है ना।
आपने आपने हिंदी में पढ़ी है पूरी हैरी पॉटर पूरी पढ़ी है?
नहीं, इंग्लिश में पढ़ी है लेकिन हिंदी में देखी है। इंग्लिश में मैंने
अच्छा,
हैरी
हिंदी
पॉटर
में देखी है। राइट।
इवन लास्ट पार्ट्स आई यूज्ड टू व्हेन डेथली हैलोज केम आउट आई वाज इन जम्मू, वहां हिंदी में ही रिलीज होती थी मूवी। तो एवेंजर्स रिलीज हुई, अंगारे बने शोले, ठीक है, तो मैंने अंगारे बने शोले देखी है, एवेंजर्स नहीं देखी है। हैरी पॉटर और मौत के तोहफे देखी है मैंने, पढ़ी मैंने डेथली हैलोज
हैरी
भी है।
पॉटर और हैरी पॉटर और
मौत के तोहफे,
मौत के तोहफे। वो वाओ।
तो आई
हाँ,
डोंट Daniel Radcliffe, I have usually not seen him speak English. For me, he is a Hindi speaker. ठीक है, तो पूरी 8 फिल्म्स मैंने हिंदी में ही देखी है।
राइट। और ये प्रिविलेज आपको पता है सिर्फ इंग्लिश फिल्में देखते हुए नहीं होता। ये फिल्में अगर आप पैन इंडियन फिल्म्स देखो, फॉर एग्जांपल साउथ इंडियन सिनेमा देखो, हम बचपन में जो मलयालम सिनेमा देख रहे थे, इट वाज ऑल डब्ड इन हिंदी, राइट? वी नेवर स्टार्टेड वाचिंग मलयालम सिनेमा एज फार एज आई नो, राइट? माय जनरेशन डिड नॉट। एंड हम सबटाइटल्स तो अब पढ़ना शुरू कर दिया है कि नाउ अब वी आर इन सिंक, आवर आईज and then the reading and the watching thing has been synced together so we could read the subtitles। वरना पहले तो हम हिंदी में ही देखते थे नागार्जुन की फिल्में, वो डॉन टाइप्स है ना, जिसमें वो फिरोज होता है और वो भी होते हैं। ये सब तो हमने हिंदी डब में ही देखा है ये सब। तो आई गेट व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, बट देन वेयर इज द पार्ट जहाँ पे द सेल्फ कंफर्मिंग status of a writer does not creep in? क्योंकि I would not deny, पता है, you there are points or maybe everybody around you, they make you feel more intelligent, or you as being conditioned by the society feel more intelligent, that oh, you are a writer, you would be taken more seriously than other people out there. The moment you put your thoughts out on paper, you are someone else. You maybe you have a halo around your head and maybe anything you would say is like oh कि क्या ही बोल दिया इस इंसान ने, ये वाली बात हो जाती है। और आपके केस में तो ये सिर्फ एक बार नहीं, ये 2 बार है, राइट? यू आर अ राइटर, ऑफ कोर्स यू हैव अ लॉट ऑफ क्रेडिबिलिटी, बट देन अगेन यू आर एन आईएफएस ऑफिसर, राइट? How do you tackle that? Because I'm sure it's not just you, but people around you would make you feel like that कि अरे ये तो IFS officer है, ये तो writer है। How does that go? How do you battle with that, or do you even battle with that? ये आपके लिए problem है भी नहीं? What do you think?
I usually keep them very separate. Like for me, people who appreciate my writing are a different circle from my profession mostly. So,
Mm-hmm.
but being coming to the fact that it will always be that way. A creator would always have a huge backing of privilege from their side, usually. Because consider the greatest writers, classic writers that we have, Tolstoy or like Dostoevsky, or the American writers, Walt Whitman. I mean, most of them were like landowning class, and they had resources to spend time in,
Right.
you know, and that is why I read Mahatma Gandhi's autobiography finally, like cover to cover now, last month.
My
The
experiments with truth.
the story of my experiments with truth, and he also considered. I mean, it is so enlightening to see him be self-critical at certain junctures, reiterate that he might be wrong or the privilege that he has had because his father being the Diwan or the Prime Minister in Gujarat, to Rajkot, etc. I mean, there is a very when the writer himself disarms his opinion by saying that ये मैं इसलिए लिख रहा हूँ, खुद ही कोई deconstruct करा है कि भाई मैं गलत हो सकता हूँ, like a stand-up artist does sometimes, right? कि भाई
Hmm.
मैं कह रहा हूँ आइडिया को देखो, मेरे को मत देखो। कई राइटर्स शायद इसलिए करते हैं कि भाई मेरी राइटिंग मैं हूँ ये, but the
Hmm.
idea way more important. That's why Crime and Punishment would be one of the greatest literature ever written, but not because how Dostoevsky was writing it, but how it has been so microscopically presented even back then. Like that guy had the sensitivity to, if you go by how he was writing, what was his conditions, all the aristocratic life that he had before or after being, in that Siberian camp. पर
Hmm.
वो जो आइडिया है, जो किताब है, वो क्रिएशन है, उसकी रिस्पेक्ट तो रहेगी क्योंकि वो
Hmm.
the fount obviously came. That's why maybe he'll always be respected, but through the creation that he gave us, right? Maybe that's why it's like holier than thou image की ये तो कुछ create कर रहा है. पर
Hmm.
हाँ, I mean काश हो पाता कि मैं अपने गली के मैकेनिक को या प्लम्बर को उतना ही टैलेंटेड और वो पोर्ट्रे कर सकता, लेकिन वो एक ऐसा आई मीन प्रोफेशन और लाइक आर्ट फॉर्म उन्हें भी बना सकता, लेकिन ऑडियंस नहीं है ना, ये तो ऑडियंस डिटरमिन्स हाउ मच
How
स्टेटस.
anything becomes how anything
या
becomes art, or how even if it is perceived as art, right? We need an audience for that, right? Right. ये बहुत ही similar नहीं है to what uh, um, I mean, this is very obvious, but ये बहुत ही similar to what Marx would say in a lot of ways, that it is a superstructure that could create art, right? It is not the base जहाँ से art निकल के आता है, possible ही नहीं है क्योंकि we all know why, right? And
वैसे हो सकता
हाँ,
है लेकिन नॉट नाउ. दैट्स व्हाई आई रियली रिस्पेक्ट content from Instagram sometimes, because it actually is democratizing to such a level that हर बंदा आर्टिस्ट है भाई. गली में 10-15 आर्टिस्ट मिल जाएंगे. Even their sort of their themes might be very different or like cringe, considered cringe, which I call a revolution in SSBTO. But it's, I mean, it's giving a platform to so many unheard
hmm,
voices.
social media, yes. I'm I have this question, right, about remakes from social media वाला part. And ये
Hmm.
बहुत ही abrupt है, मगर the question is कि people nowadays they have become very aware of where our cinema comes from, right? For example, if they see Hindi mainstream cinema, now people could precisely locate कि oh ये यहाँ से उठाया हुआ है, ये यहाँ से उठाया हुआ है, because it's out there on the media. But initially, when some things or such thing like that never existed, people would admire such cinema. For example, शोले बहुत ही
Yeah.
बेसिक एग्जांपल, राइट? शोले का वो जो ओपनिंग सीन है वो पूरा उठाया नहीं गया, चलो ये नहीं बोलेंगे, बट it is inspired, let's say that, right? Huh? Because I still think, though you have copied something from the existing thing, right, you still have some originality to it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, people just name it as, oh, it's a copy, and though you will not watch it. For example, Lal Singh Chaddha was one such film. Before it was about to get premiered, people had their opinions made कि नहीं ये तो बर्बाद ही होगी क्योंकि बॉलीवुड ने कॉपी ही कर ली है पूरी फिल्म, कुछ नहीं बनेगा इस फिल्म का, that way.
Hmm.
So do you think that affects our cinema watching experience in a lot of ways, knowing that where the cinema comes from, and we could not appreciate the effort or time or something original that might be there in the cinema that goes unnoticed?
As a viewer, I think a lot depends on what happens in those 2 or 3 hours, right? Is the film just a ripoff, or is the film organically inculcating? Like even Barfi was considered, यहाँ से इसने caricature comedy scenes उठाए हैं, Buster Keaton से उठा लिया, Charlie Chaplin से उठा लिया, but
Hmm.
that doesn't take away from the fact that it was so well made, right? Even
Right.
Sholay,
And the music.
piece, right?
Yeah.
Like it has only consider this: if Sholay wasn't made and only you would have seen The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or Sergio Leone cinema, or Western spaghetti, jo bhi baki. Would you be able to have a reference to what that cinema like? Did not? Do you think show after watching Sholay, I was sensitized that this kind of cinema actually exists, right? You made a market for that as well. It was like a
Hmm.
stepping. Now also, if again ये धड़क 2 release हुई है, people would watch Periyaram Perumal BABL only because there's a vast chunk of people who haven't seen the original, but if they
Hmm.
like the film so much, they will have a stepping stone or introductory orientation to the original, right? But again,
Hmm.
that is
True.
the thing, right? कि मैं जाऊंगा, क्या मैं उस एक्सटेंट तक जाऊंगा या नहीं, क्या मेरे पास उतना टाइम, उतना प्रिविलेज, उतना रिसोर्स है या नहीं. ऐसे तो गानों में भी होता है, इतना सारा सैंपल म्यूजिक किया हुआ है, पर अब वो मुझे तो वैसा ही. अब डाफ्ट पंक ने अगर वही छोड़ दिया होता, कान्ये वेस्ट ने स्ट्रॉन्गर उस तरह से नहीं किया होता, और हैंगओवर फिल्म ने उस तरह से उसे नहीं उठाया होता, तो आधे लोग तो शायद. See, I watched Hangover, so I heard this music, amazing. It was Kanye West, but the the electronic part of it was Daft Punk. It introduced me to Daft Punk. Now I got into Daft Punk, I realized that French creator. So I heard Daft Punk. That was my door to French music.
Hmm.
Or I heard Daft Punk, so I could go to Giorgio Moroder. I could go to Giorgio Moroder, so I could realize what disco was, you know, what kind of time period or musically active period that was, and who inspired who, and where should I go. Like, it's just like references for someone. I mean, that's just a personal way of seeing things. कि अगर हाँ मैं सर्जियो लियोनी देखता हूँ, लेकिन मैं क्या उसे उस तक पहुंच पाता अगर मेरे पास शोले या टैरेंटिनो ना होते.
I
या
agree.
अगर
I agree.
जैंगो एंड मुझे नहीं मिलती, तो क्या मैं एनियो मॉरिकोनी या लियो बाकलोव तक पहुंच पाता. ये क्वेश्चन है. मतलब
और
हाँ, चोरी
there
किया है
there
वो
can
गलत,
also be
चोरी गलत.
there can also be a follow up thing, right? अगर
या
सिर्फ सर्जियो लियोनी की द गुड द बैड एंड द अगली बनती और शोले नहीं बनती, तो वी माइट हैव नेवर विटनेस्ड सुपर लाइक मालेगांव का शोले, राइट? वो भी
हाँ
नहीं बनती फिर कभी, क्योंकि कोई
हाँ
नहीं बनाता मालेगांव का द गुड द बैड द अगली, ये कोई नहीं बनाता, राइट?
क्यों नहीं बनती. हाँ,
हाँ हाँ, राइट राइट. और फिर सुपरमैन ऑफ मालेगांव नहीं बनती, ये भी है. प्रिसाइसली. सो वन सिनेमा लीड्स द वे टू अनदर सच सिनेमा टू,
बट इट्स
अपार्ट फ्रॉम द
लाइक
व्यूइंग एक्सपीरियंस.
yeah, why? If John Ruskin or Tolstoy were not writing what they were writing, or Henry David Thoreau wasn't writing, we might not have had Gandhi or Mandela or Martin Luther King.
राइट राइट. ट्रू ट्रू
अगर
ट्रू.
ये तो चोरी कर लिया उसने.
I, I totally get this part. सिर्फ रीमेक में नहीं, मतलब एक्सप्लोर करने में. अगर मैं कभी क्रिस्टोफर नॉलन का सिनेमा नहीं देखता, इफ और वो भी मैंने क्यों देखा, क्योंकि देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ हाइप अराउंड इट उस टाइम पे. पीपल वर टॉकिंग अबाउट सच सिनेमा, एंड टू एंटर cool circles you have to watch Nolan का cinema. You know, that was maybe the unsaid criteria. तो मैं कभी वो मूवी नहीं देखता, मैं कभी पहली बार कौन फील्ड चेज सुनता ही नहीं है ना, और मैं फिर कभी हैंस जिमर को एक्सप्लोर ही नहीं करता. सो ऐसे करते करते मैं कभी हैंस जिमर नहीं सुनता, तो मैं फिर कभी क्यूरियस नहीं होता कि ओ ऑपनहाइमर का म्यूजिक किसने दिया है. दैट वुड आल्सो अगेन बी अ मिस्ट्री फॉर मी. और नाउ
Yeah,
I'm decently curious about the soundtrack of movies, not just the movies made outside India, but even India. अभी recently जब मैंने कुछ साल पहले कामुक घर देखी थी अचल मिश्रा की, जो उनकी सबसे पहली मूवी है, तो उसमें अंशुमन शर्मा ने एक म्यूजिक दिया था, समर थीम, राइट? साउंड ट्रैक है उस मूवी का, वो
yeah,
इतना सुंदर है. अगर आपकी दोपहर है, यू हैव नथिंग टू डू, यू हैव सच टाइम्स, राइट? अगेन प्रिविलेज टाइम्स, राइट? यू कुड लिसन टू सच
yeah.
म्यूजिक, सच साउंड ट्रैक्स, एंड इट्स वेरी फुलफिलिंग. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally get that point.
It
Exploring,
is it is like giving music to your own life, right?
yeah,
Sometimes you just like there is a soundtrack Blade Runner में Rachel
haha,
song
haha,
करके. I mean, I downloaded the album way back, but it did not have Rachel's song in it. But you check it out. That is something that would put you to sleep by the end of its 5 minute run. I mean, sometimes it is so special. Some soundtracks are so special that you have to. They are so integral to your life. It's like तुम्हारी life का ही music है. दिया है इस बंदे ने.
So,
So that
कब
is,
से you have been collecting soundtracks and scores? How long this has been a hobby for? Is it still a hobby, or have you stopped doing it?
it is kind of, it is still there whenever I can, or whatever the resources I have provided. But it
Right.
started. I think it started. I don't even remember. Yeah.
College.
It's nine, even before that. I think when I got good internet of the BSNL broadband in Jammu, when our pack got upgraded from rural to urban, that's when I started. Yeah.
Right. मैं जब
And the,
when I was scrolling through your YouTube, right? Uh,
yeah,
I kept a count, like what is it that is done बहुत ज़्यादा, right? So of course there were the two small series kind of things you made, right? Mo Maya Moe and 20. I do not know how to pronounce that. Bisous. How do you go about that?
it's called Bizu.
Bizu. It's called Bizu.
20
Right.
Bizu. Bizu.
Right. Right. तो ये था. But then उससे पहले, and this is after you were working, but before you were in the services, जब आप
Yeah,
कॉलेज में थे उस टाइम पे you were shooting a lot of trailers for
yeah,
movie for plays for and
yeah.
not to for your plays but for different plays that were happening in the colleges. How was that like? Or maybe what we can do is uh, I am curious about this. I do not know if anybody else would be, but if you do not mind, and if it's not too personal, take me through that time when you came to Delhi, right? Uh, when for the first time you shifted your subjects from studying physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, calculus, studying
Hmm.
history because आपको कुछ चाहिए था जो आप लेट के पढ़ सको, right? This is what I have heard
Yeah.
from your interviews, है ना? And you coming to Stephens, these 3 years here, yeah, I really want to know how all of this went. What all you did, the societies you joined, and also
Hmm.
the reason कि आपने academia क्यों नहीं choose किया उसके बाद? Why did you not continue with academia? So first, let's start with this thing. Your initial years at St. Stephen's. How was that?
Okay.
Hmm.
So I came to Delhi on 17th July 2014. And it was I had lived in Jammu for 5 years उससे पहले, and before that I was in Delhi during middle school for 2 3 years. So by that time I had never been to North Campus or that area. For me, Delhi was only basically Delhi cantonment, and I still have not seen such a huge part of Delhi that I mean, it's almost embarrassing that I have not explored so much as मुझे पेरिस के बारे में उतना ही ज़्यादा पता है जितना मुझे दिल्ली के बारे में पता है at the moment. So, uh, yeah, when I joined college, I had got into physics and history, but I wasn't. I mean, one motivation was that I wasn't getting college residence or hostel in physics, but I was getting it in history. Plus, history was something that was a passion for me to just read, relate ke padhne ka, or just to, things that might have come naturally to me according to my interest. And physics was something I had, by rigorous practice, I had started loving in 11 12. So when I switched, first thing was Delhi was a big city for me. I did not have any like known जो होता है ना कई लोग स्कूल और कॉलेज में साथ होते हैं There was no one from my school. जम्मू से ज़्यादातर कोई आर्ट्स नहीं था. वो DU में भी I think I saw two people in other colleges, Miranda or Ramjas, but I did not have like a circle of friends already. So it was everyone was a stranger for me, and that is when I felt like it was a whole new universe because earlier in school, when you have this guru shishya parampara kind of a thing that you are always learning from the teacher or tuition master or coaching के जो teachers होते हैं. But Delhi, like in college, it was a very egalitarian setup. Like you were given the freedom to you were given the freedom of time, which was so problematic. क्योंकि स्कूल में तो होता है एक पीरियड के बाद एक पीरियड 8 पीरियड होता है, फिर घर जाओ, फिर खेलने जाओ
हाँ
शाम को. That regimented timetable just broke down. There was no discipline suddenly in my life. And coming from an army background where you were told what to do, एक घंटा ये, एक घंटा ये, एक घंटा ये, तक उठने के बाद और सोने से पहले आपकी पूरी जिंदगी प्लान्ड होती है. But the very first day of college, पहले तो we had just two subjects. One was I think social formations, SOFO जिसे बोलते हैं,
सुफो
and the
अमर
other was
फारूकी
ancient.
का सुफो. हाँ हाँ.
Amar Farooq, exactly. तो our teacher was not. I mean, I think sabbatical ले लिया था एक टीचर ने, तो एक खाली थी, तो उसके पीरियड वैसे ही फ्री थे. तो टाइम टेबल में देखो तो पूरे हफ्ते में बस 6 क्लास थी, 6 घंटे पढ़ने के थे और बाकी सारा टाइम फ्री. और अगर फिजिक्स का टाइम टेबल देखो उसमें तो बंदे दोपहर तक तो पढ़ ही रहे हैं क्लास में, उसके बाद लैब भी जा रहे हैं. तो आई वाज लाइक
हाँ.
कि अच्छा तो मैं फिजिक्स ले लेता क्योंकि दैट वाज मोर यू नो familiar to me rather than फ्री टाइम कि अब कहाँ जाओ. अब फ्री टाइम मिलता है तो एक तो सोशलाइज करना इतना प्रॉब्लमेटिक था मेरे लिए कि क्या कैसे दोस्त कैसे बनाए, और ये लोग तो
क्यों
आर्ट्स वाले हैं.
प्रॉब्लमैटिक क्यों था सोशलाइज करना?
क्योंकि आई मीन in Jammu it was a very set thing, like you are classmates, so you become friends, and other section people और या जो भी 11 12 में हो जाता है ना PCM वाले एक साथ कम से कम पढ़ाई के जरिए आप दोस्त बना लेते हो, या फिर स्पोर्ट्स के जरिए जो भी इंटरेस्टिंग साथ में को करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज जो भी. पर न्यू कमर के लिए तो there is no clique also, right? For me, for some people who are day scholars who already have their school friends in their college, they already have a circle, right? To build your own circle, especially with liberal arts students for a science scene. I was the only science in my class of 70 people. I was the only person from physics to, I mean, PCM to humanities. So the way their perspective, their way of talking is very different. For me, it's only like problem solving, solution oriented approach, right? कि न्यूमेरिकल में तो मैं सॉल्व करूँ, इंटीग्रेशन डिफरेंशिएशन करने में तो मैं सॉल्व करूँगा, पर क्या political milieu or the left thinking, what is the right thinking, what is the centrist approach to things, the political reality of. I was so shielded by the sociological and political reality of society that it was very unfamiliar for me कि अब मैं कैसे दोस्त बनाऊं, कैसे बात किन चीजों पर बात करूं. अब लोग वहाँ मार्क्सिस्ट लिटरेचर पढ़ के आए हैं पहले से ही, वो अपने एकेडमी के मतलब हीरोज कोट कर रहे हैं, लाइक फॉर्म्स कोट कर रहे हैं या कोट कर रहे हैं, और Cambridge School or the Oxford School or the Colonial School of Historian. मतलब मेरे लिए vocab ये एकदम एलियन था. मुझे पढ़ना भी नहीं आता था कि कैसे पढ़ा जाए, कैसे असाइनमेंट्स बनाए जाए, या जो पहले पहले ही हफ्ते या 2 हफ्ते में मैं ट्यूटोरियल्स जाना मैंने बंद कर दिया था क्योंकि that would be so up close with the professor that I would feel so judged and suddenly fish out of water कि मुझे तो I'll have to unlearn things first. So मेरा पहला सेमेस्टर ऐसा ही है, मैं हॉस्टल वापस आ जाता था, अपने रूम में वापस आ जाता था. My friend circle was quite limited in the first semester because I was like going through the syllabus of the entire 3 years. ये पढ़ना पड़ेगा, ये पढ़ना पड़ेगा. और ऐसे पढ़ाई होती नहीं है कॉलेज में. सिलेबस कवर कर लो, फिर प्रैक्टिस पेपर्स कर लेना और वो सब, ये सब नहीं होता. पर मेरा पहले 6 महीने यही अप्रोच था. ओनली स्पेस आई हैड वाज outstanding Wi-Fi. So I downloaded so many movies that that opened up my brains like crazy. I joined the Cine Club in college.
That
I
was the
was
first time. That was your gateway into watching world cinema, सब कुछ जो भी cinematic है सब कुछ.
yeah. My brief introduction of almost everything in life, even now, is my cousin Harsh. So he's a very curious person. So everything I know, everything new that is happening in music, in movies, or maybe like coffee, or things that a, a person can enjoy the art form of. He has been my first uh, yeah, gateway. But in college I was on my own and I had the resources, right? So it sort of uh, exploded. I would wake up all night watching like Iranian cinema, or uh, all these weird kind of movies where I wouldn't even know, like the 400 blows, True 4 देख रहे हैं, Waltz with Bashir देख रहे हैं. ऐसी फिल्में तो कभी सुनी भी नहीं, हो क्या रहा है यहाँ पे, ठीक है. तो that kind of recommendations, I joined the cine club of my college, and it was uh, a very close knit circle, and my heroes are still my third year, because they, even now, I'm in touch with some of them. But in fact, one of my third years is a filmmaker now. His name is Aranya Sahai. Humans in the Loop is a movie that in
Yes,
theaters.
it is. I saw it from your
Yeah.
Twitter.
So
Yes, you mentioned about it.
yeah, so I still hold them in such high regard because these people were teaching me things that I had no idea of. And we were having screenings. I saw Gangs of Wasseypur for the first time in college. That just, it changed my definition of what cinema can be, could be, should be, everything. And then I joined the quiz club because I thought I was a good quizzer in my school, but in the Delhi circuit, I was such a bad quizzer that. But I would still go and attend quizzes. I never won any quizzes, but it was nice to just see the trivia there, some flames quizzes, and get introduced to uh, different kinds of films, different kinds of music. तो वो ये सब चलता रहा. अब पहले साल मैंने ये धीरे धीरे सीखा. तो पहले साल वो झिझक खत्म हुई सिनेमा की, क्योंकि आई कुड एटलीस्ट डिस्कस सिनेमा विद दीस पीपल, not political debates or not understanding of things, but just a common ground where I could actively participate. Movies
And how did your
was
relation with history improve?
so that only happened with uh, interacting with my batchmates over maybe in the cafe, canteen, on the lawns in winters or whatever. Thoda bahut, it was very hard for me. It is still hard for me to gauge uh, different historical perspectives, but because it was in the curriculum, slowly I adapted. But it wasn't very conscious. The only conscious effort I made was not study at all, because
And
because
then what was that when you saying it in an interview that you used to come to class, sit at the back bench, just read the newspaper, right?
yeah, that's huh, because sometimes I would realize that some teachers would would be so. I mean, that is one reason also why I didn't do academia. But some teachers would come and just read from notes. If they're just reading from notes, then I could just get notes later, right? So यही मुझे फिर मैं अखबार पढ़ता रहता था बिकॉज देन एटलीस्ट आई वुड बी अवेयर ऑफ हैपनिंग अराउंड मी. इट वाज just being able to talk to people. That was the first challenge, to communicate, to have an opinion, and not only to have an opinion but be respectful and sensitized to the other person's opinion too, because I think in my college the cross section of society that comes there is very diverse from all states. My roommate was from Northeast, my room neighbor was from Japan, my
I could
classmates were
I could tell this I could tell this from a video you made. I'm sorry to cut you off, but the diversification वाला point, it's in the video जहाँ पे आप invite कर रहे हो inter राजपाल किसी चीज के
yeah,
लिए, and then there are people speaking in different languages कि आप भी आना, आप भी आना, आप भी
yeah,
आना.
yeah.
So there are 5 to 10 people saying this. I could make it from that. Yes, yes. Please continue.
So that's why I thought that, people have had such different upbringings, different backgrounds, and when they come together, it is just amazing to, work towards something together. And that is when I got into theater. I was not active in my first year. I only watched uh, the things that my seniors did, and for me, they were like heroes. And in second year, when my third years graduated, and the gap that was created, and the new fachas would come, and we would uh, that would give me basically like a middle ground, right? वो जिनसे सीखा था वो चले गए, थोड़ा बहुत मुझे आता है, तो शायद मेरा भी कुछ हो सकता है, मतलब इसमें कि मैं भी, आई वाज नेवर इनटू थिएटर इन स्कूल. दे डिडंट हैव a theater group in my school. Even I think when I came uh, to college, I saw a notice board in which MUN लिखा था. I was like, मुन क्या है? और मैं हंसने लगा. और जो मेरे साथ खड़े थे कि मुन नहीं है, मॉडल यूनाइटेड. एंड देन आई वाज लाइक, वो ये क्या होता है? मुझे वो भी आइडिया नहीं था. तो फर्स्ट ईयर में ये थोड़ा सा ज्ञान मिला. सेकेंड ईयर में देन आई स्टार्टेड डूइंग सम shooting. I bought a new DSLR from the money I had saved. And college was I was very clear. As a school kid, I was a bit happy, but I knew that when I went to college, I had this image of me being like Christian Bale in the machine, being so emaciated and so weak to just give into yourself, like, give into yourself to knowledge, because the mess food is so bad. So you are just feeding on knowledge, and that is your only nutrition. So you are feeding off each other's opinions. The food is terrible, but you are still feeling enriched. You are tired, you are dead, you do not have stamina, but you have the stamina to, talk about a political issue for hours. And it's so interesting. That only happens in college. I don't know if it happens still, but that happened then. So that was that was my second year when I started shooting for my seniors' plays, a trailer. So that is when
And
I
also
also
and editing as well, right? You were editing the same things too. Haha.
मैं कैमरा लेके घूमता रहता था, और मैं पहले पावर डायरेक्टर पे काम करता था. वो पूरा मेरा लैपटॉप खत्म कर दिया उस सॉफ्टवेयर ने, चला दिया. और फिर मैं
हाँ.
and I had a friend. His name was Rockstar. He's still around. He had a Mac. I would just borrow, like, I saw him editing a very small thing. He's a great musician. तो उसका म्यूजिक सोसाइटी में था, तो आई सॉ साउंड ट्रैक एडिटिंग को एक बार कर रहा था. तो आई कुड सी दैट मे बी आई कुड बोरो, then try to experiment with iMovie. So then I bought that, and then I realized that Power Director is such a bad software, and how I should shift. I would borrow his MacBook for editing. I would also borrow a couple of other classmates' Macs. So I was this, मतलब just to make ends meet. हो रहा है, हो रहा है, कुछ ना कुछ तो कर रहे हैं. I was the film guy basically of the class. So it was also, it got irritating when even my professors would give them film projects and they would be like, just consult Vikram also on this. And I was like, oh, ऐसे फिल्में introduce कर. In one tutorial I was even like, "Sir, I'm not the film guy, I'm just interested in, I just have a camera that shoots, but that's it." And then I would do screenings. I still love screenings. I use the projector at home. I बचपन से मेरा सपना था कि मैं सोचता था कि जब सोते थे तो क्या पता काश छत पे टीवी लगा होता ताकि लेट पर टीवी देख सकता था ग्रेविटी से. तो जब मैंने प्रोजेक्टर खरीदा तो मैं कई बार पंखे के साइड में प्रोजेक्टर भी लगा देता हूँ और मूवी ऐसे लेट के देखता हूँ प्रोजेक्टर पे. तो
Even now.
even now, yeah, I carry my projector everywhere. Now I have it
So
in my.
the so I mean पंखे के बगल में पंखा चल रहा है तो वो फिर रिफ्रैक्ट नहीं होता है वो इमेज जो बन रहा है
वो
उसमें.
अलग एक्सपीरियंस है. कई बार कॉर्नर में प्रोजेक्ट करो, एस्पेक्ट रेशियो अलग है, फिल्म दोबारा देखो अलग एस्पेक्ट रेशियो में. सही है, मतलब आई कीप
हाँ.
डूइंग स्टफ. इट्स ऑलवेज एक्साइटिंग. कई बार मक्खी उड़ती है तो आ जाती. टेक्सास चेनसॉ मैसेकर देख रहा था मैं तो बॉडीज पर मक्खियां आ रही थी और वो असली मक्खी थी जो
आपने
इनके.
अभी जो चेनसॉ मैसेकर देखी है वो ऐसी देखी है दीवार पे.
हाँ, तो मक्खियां घूम रही हैं ऊपर, मच्छर घूम रहे हैं लाइट की वजह से. 4D
Damn.
शो बन सकती है. तो या
So
सो
during,
सेकंड
during this time you joined Sabha, right? सभा ही नाम था ना आपकी सोसाइटी का.
या
हाँ तो सभा आपने इस टाइम पे ज्वाइन करी थी सेकंड ईयर में.
हाँ सेकंड ईयर.
और उसमें you made a play which was called, I'm reading of course right because थोड़ा नाम मैं भूल जाता, रूमी और ऑफ फ्यूटिलिटी एंड डिफरेंस. ये प्ले डायरेक्ट किया था आपने.
हाँ, इनडिफरेंस.
अच्छा इनडिफरेंस है, मैंने डिफरेंस लिखा है, और ऑफ फ्यूटिलिटी एंड इनडिफरेंस राइट. और
या
एक और प्ले था, सॉरी दो और प्ले थे. वन प्ले नहीं था, एक तो वीडियो थी, अ स्केच दैट वाजंट, दिस वाज वन.
या
एक ये था और
या
एक और थी सुरीली, मैं नाम भूल गया क्या नाम था उसका.
सुर्खियां.
सुर्खियां. राइट. हाँ 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 ये तो ये सब सभा में हो रहा है, ये तीनों चीजें व्हेन यू वर अ पार्ट ऑफ द थिएटर सोसाइटी.
Yeah, this was in Surkhiyan was the launch production of Sabha. It was Rumi was my own effort in the competition. A sketch that was also my own effort, but Surkhiyan was the entire Sabha production that I got the privilege of writing and directing. So it was my play along with 65, 70 people. So I made Rumi with 4 people and Surkhiyan was with like 70 people. So, and that has helped me. That society has helped me so much. That experience, that even now in my profession, it is always like it feels like you're a director. You're just managing strengths and weaknesses of your characters, and putting them to work differently, trying to understand their problems, trying to make them act the way you want to. So even in geopolitics, that's
and
about
and
that's
and, and by this time you are okay with the socializing aspect. It was not
uh,
much big of a problem then.
yeah.
क्योंकि 70 people को डायरेक्ट
My
करना इज अ
hesitation,
टास्क.
my hesitation reduced, and because I was basically okay with my work on the camera, people would call me. All these seniors, like the cool people, would call me to shoot them and edit their trailers. So I liked that because of that work I could collaborate with them, but I still did not sort of still my core friend group I was always comfortable with were mostly sciences. They are still sciences. So in my
Did you
hostel,
find your way through these people even in college? Were you friends with the sciences even in college?
yeah. I was friends with most people actually because of I didn't. It's sort of saying hello is very integral to my existence, I guess, because even if someone's walking in front of me, a stranger, I would greet him, no matter. कई बार होता नहीं कि काम नहीं होता या आप कुछ दिन से नहीं मिले हो तो आप हाय हेलो सबको नहीं बोलते हो। अगर मैं रूम में जाता हूँ तो जबरदस्ती मैं सबको हेलो बोलता हूँ, चाहे मेरे को किसी से बात नहीं करनी हो, लेकिन जस्ट be like on high hello terms. I was with most of my batchmates and still am actually. Because just
Right.
to acknowledge the other person's existence is very important to me. Like ऐसे नहीं हो सकता मैं बैठ गया जाके और greet नहीं कर रहा हूँ. So even if I'm not good friends with them, I would be like like a good acquaintance with
Right.
all of
On high terms, right? On greeting terms. वहाँ तक.
yeah, yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
this happened second year में, right? The plays. You were also competing in competitions. आपने
yeah,
mention किया अभी.
yeah.
Right. Theater competitions या filmmaking competitions भी.
दोनों दोनों करते हैं
दोनों
एंड
दोनों
एज अ
right
क्लब
दोनों.
ऑल्सो क्लब एक्चुअली we did participate in a lot of IIT के फेस्ट्स और वो सब होते थे फरवरी मार्च तो सारा फेस्ट था तो या कंपटीशन में
And
पार्ट
did
लेना
you guys? This is थोड़ा अजीब, but did you guys win? I mean, it's not
yeah
concerning, but still.
we did couple of times but the bigger wins were projects in which I wasn't involved so but as part of the team I would be there like sometimes but
आपने भी
अभी
बोला
once
कि it helped you become, it helped you collaborate with the cool people. Were you not already amongst the cool people? This is the concern I have.
I might be considered by my juniors as one of them, but
Right.
no, maybe in third year. Third year was when I think third year was the most important year of my life. 2016 was the most important year of my life when I just before the year began, I lost all my writings. My hard drive got corrupted, and I lost everything I had ever written. And I was so
And
down.
then,
Then I stopped caring. After a month. I was like, now I have to just do everything because that is one motivation I have for writing also. कि अगर मैं ये बचा के रखूंगा, कहीं कभी ना कभी ये उड़ जाएगा. तो अभी लिख के छाप देता हूँ.
और उस
They
क्या क्या था उसमें जो जो उड़ गया? Was it creative writing या notes? What all did it
articles,
have?
articles, novels, poetry, manuscripts, theater scripts, play scripts, सब उड़ गया.
Shit.
Songs, if I tried to compose, सब उड़ गया.
And then you were down for a month because of this.
Yeah, like I was in such a hopeless place कि क्या ही है अब मेरे को तो ये करना था और अभी हो गया. So yeah, then I that was hard. But once the college began, and then I got surkhiyan, I started writing surkhiyan while vacations were going on. So yeah, एक तो मैंने कभी internship नहीं की कोई, तो मेरे पास खाली टाइम बहुत था. मूवी देखने का और लिखने का. तो फिर third year I directed Surkhiyan. It was a criticism of the media, how news media is getting, and then they create news rather than getting news. So it was on that theme. Yeah. So that year was I traveled a lot that year because when I basically stopped caring after that. It was very restrictive and hesitant in my first 2 years. But third year, I just like to hell with everything. Let's just whatever we want to.
Wow. Wow. Oh.
Yeah.
Damn. And उस टाइम पे ये जब थर्ड ईयर में हो रहा था, you have already decided कहीं ना कहीं back in the head कि एग्जाम तो देना ही है, चलो. That is the thing, that is for sure.
हाँ वो तो बन गया था क्योंकि ये मुझे क्लियर था कि just to like support what I want to do. I have to do certain things that I have to do so that I can do the things I want to
Right, right, right. Wow. तो फिर the moment college ended, third year में उसके बाद you went back to Jammu for a year, or were you still in Delhi?
My parents had shifted by then. My father got posted to Delhi. So
Right,
I was here. Then we went to Kupwara, Kashmir, in the middle of the
right.
year. Like, yeah.
और फिर उस एक साल में during the prep, were you again at movies, back at your screen, watching a lot of stuff again, और या नहीं रुक
Yeah.
गया था?
Nahi, I saw True Detective then. I saw Sacred Games. My mind was blown that something like this can be made in season one, because season two was
Season one.
like even disappointing.
Yes,
But
yes.
I watched Sacred Game. Every break I got from studying, I would watch something.
और
So
ट्रू
I saw
डिटेक्टिव का कौन सीजन, सारे की सिर्फ पहला, क्योंकि लोगों ने पहले
पहला,
ही देखा होता बहुत पहला.
सिर्फ पहले
राइट,
ही
हाँ,
देखा, उसके बाद नहीं देखा मैंने
राइट.
कुछ.
मैंने भी नहीं देखा, पता नहीं क्यों, बट वो जो मैथ्यू मैकॉनहे वाला सीजन है, पहला सीजन, उसके बाद से मेरा मन ही नहीं हुआ. मुझे लगा कि मैं देखूंगा तो ये डाउन ही हो जाएगा, तो मैं यही रोक देता हूँ इसको, अब नहीं देख पाऊंगा. राइट.
पर
या
have you seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
नो, आई हैवंट.
Check it out. You will realize how much Detective has borrowed from that
टेक्सास चेनसॉ मैसेकर.
in building their archetype. Yeah, just in that. Yeah.
राइट, राइट.
Yeah. Yeah. हाँ तो वो देखा. गॉड फादर मैंने दोबारा देखी, क्योंकि जब मैंने देखी थी तो मैं बहुत छोटा था. बहुत सारी फिल्में मैंने दोबारा, टीवी सीरीज भी काफी सारी. म्यूजिक मुझे अपग्रेड करना पड़ा बहुत लगातार, क्योंकि just to keep things going. There was this YouTube channel called My Analog Journal. It's still there, I think. It had very
व्हाट्स द
weird.
नेम अगेन?
My Analog Journal.
राइट.
It has thematic music of, like, it can have South American cumbia, and it can have 70s alternative Turkish rock. Because it's a good channel. You can check it out. I wish they had a Spotify for playlisting, but they're still actively.
राइट, राइट. ये आपने मेंशन किया था ना कहीं पे कि when you were preparing, you thought that you are not itna competent, right? That you would be around with people and then prepare, so you decided to just be away from them, and you were on your keypad phone, right?
Yeah.
पहले मुझे ये बताओ कि how was that experience being on a keypad phone?
No, I didn't even have a keypad phone. I have no phone. I had no phone.
You had no phone,
I used my mother's phone. If
and then
anyone wanted
call
to chat,
करना कुछ काम वाम वो, how was
कुछ
that happening then?
नहीं, emails.
Right.
Yeah,
And talking to friends, that was not the case throughout the year.
that actually had a
Right.
huge. I still haven't. That break was so sudden that I still haven't redeemed it, because 2018 I went underground. 2019 I got selected. Training शुरू हुई. Then I went off to Paris. Then I went off to Seychelles. Then COVID happened. Now I'm back finally after 6 years. So after 2017, these 8 years, I haven't been able to catch up with most of my friends. Some of them, yes, but not a lot of them. Would never get back. And now, because the
And
distance, the gap is too huge, and people just consider me like, "ये तो author बन गया है, ऐसे ही ना पढ़ाया जो भी है." That is another baggage that a lot of us carry. So that that is
and
also.
does that affect you, the baggage that comes with it? या आपको लगता है कि
It's
चलो जो है ठीक है?
Yeah, it does, because you can't be an officer 24/7. I think it's
Right.
it's it's a role you play for considerable amount of time of the day, but it cannot define you, and should not. And if it does, then I don't know. That's that's a you problem.
Right. I think, on my part, and people listening to this would agree, right? On my part, watching you on the internet, on your channel, right, gives me that impression that you are primarily not only an officer, right? And that is what I think most of the people out there find it cool about you. कि हाँ वो एक human characteristic है कि he does what he likes, right? उस sense में, and that is why I was very curious, right? बहुत अभी नहीं तो अभी है, but बहुत time से to talk to you about it because
Mhm.
I haven't come across a lot of people like that. So
Yeah.
that is there. आपने ट्विटर पे एक बार एक क्वेश्चन आंसर किया था एक लड़के का, if I remember correctly, and he asked you that how do you deal with loneliness, right? I mean, you can choose not to answer it, but I'm sure, right? Ki nobody in this world is immune to that feeling. I
Yeah.
haven't met anyone. People could lie that, oh, I do not care, but you
Yeah.
precisely care, and that is why you do not care, right? Maybe in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
the true philosophical question, right? Or even this is what Camus would say, right? Quoting him loosely. He would say ki the true question in life is whether to find out, whether to live or to have my coffee, right? Or to die. That is the true philosophical question. And that is coming from the sense that he is very alone. So are you immune to it by any chance, right? Because you are an IFS officer now, or do you still struggle your way through it, like most of us?
I struggle every day, and everyone should, and that's the point of living, I guess. To just once you're lonely, you realize. I mean, when you realize that you are born alone and you will die alone, in a way. I mean, yes, you will have your people, friends, family, but there is a certain existence you have to strive through that is mostly alone. You have to, you are your own person mostly. And
Hmm.
that is that makes it worth questioning and answering your own insecurities or on your own perspectives at the same time. Once you're the solitude, I mean, loneliness has become a very, some people consider it derogatory, but it is true. I mean, even if no matter where you are in a crowd or sitting alone in a library or a marketplace full of people, you know that consciously sometimes make the effort. None of this, none of this is uh, what it is. I mean, I might not make sense here, but but it is like uh, you are so mindful of your own existence and here and the place. It's like the pan shot and the close up.
Right.
That's
Uh,
all about. Yeah, I mean, boy, life is comedy in a broader frame and a tragedy in a close up. So
Charlie
it's
Chaplin.
yeah. No matter where you are, what you're doing, it's that's the thing. We don't know what we want. Right? That's Slavoj Žižek says, right? Happiness is not what people want. The tragedy is that
Right.
we don't know what we want. So
This is
eternal.
this is this is a trope that psychoanalysts deal on, right? They say this very outrightly. Ki even we think what we want, and once we get it, we do not want it anymore, right? And this is the thing Oscar Wilde would say: be very careful in what you want, because once you get it, you will not want it anymore, and that is the tragedy of life, in a way. Yeah,
And then when
we're
you're
pretty much the same.
build your everyone needs a Richard Parker on the board. So build your own Richard Parker, right? There are
Hmm.
create your own problems if there is a void and solve them. That's how you find sometimes like it works. When there is nothing, you create something out of it, and then you just use your tools to solve it, and then you feel good about yourself. And then there is another problem. Smaller
But
problems
then
when bigger problems come ahead. So,
but the opposite of this can also be true, no? Like which could be said. it is your analogy, and I'm quoting you in front of you, which is sort of weird, but I'll still do that, right? And the analogy is key. While you're preparing, let's say for an exam or for anything in life, and if you're privileged enough to have your family around, right? So you are the only one who's striking the goal, right? You have a lot of people offering you help, right? Being
Yeah,
there, being your companion or accompanying you throughout the journey. So it does not become your journey solely, right? And therefore,
yeah,
if you look at it by that lens, you're not really alone. But then you are. I mean, both the opposites are accurately true if seen in context, है ना? तो ये भी है एक चीज.
absolutely.
तो,
But
right.
then there is, why na, you are working towards something, and then you achieve it. Where is the team? What is
Right.
next?
Right.
वही तो, yeah.
Do you think it is important to always aim at something and achieve something? I mean, of course, in a capitalist world, it is. But what do you think? Are you very comfortable with the slow life you have? कि आराम आराम से चलते रहो यही ठीक है या वो एकदम होता ना एकदम ऑपोजिट हसल कल्चर है कि यही करना है करना ही करना है करना ही करना है तो वो वाली एक चीज है हाउ डू यू परसीव एवरीथिंग राइट बिकॉज what I infer from what you have told me, right? पता है आउटसेट से आपको हमेशा ऐसा लगता है कि इस इंसान की लाइफ में तो सब कुछ सॉर्टेड ही है. This is the trope that you see on the media, right? कि oh, but pretty much more or less, if we come from the same socioeconomic background, we all have similar problems. Not the same, but very similar problems in that context.
Yeah.
Then how do you look at it? How do you look at everything now, right? Now that you have a very stable life, as in career के terms में, what is next for you? Are you constantly planning in your head कि ये करना, ये करना, ये करना, ये करना, या आप like हो गया जो करना था, थोड़ा chill कर सकते हैं? Like, how is that?
For me, it's like death is near. Like it's tomorrow. So I mean, I try to live. I live on a daily basis. I love my job. I do the best I can because
Hmm.
also that is primarily why I never publicize what I do occupationally.
Hmm.
Also, I'm getting paid for it already. Why do I need credit? Because I'm doing something I'm being paid, right? So it's my duty to just do it and not keep seeking credit for it.
Hmm.
And who are the other people who give me credit? I mean, they are no one to do that, and I am not to that. So that's another 9 to 5 life is something else. I give the best I can in that scenario. After that, it's very, uh, it's like realizing how small you are after the day's work. Like the world does not run on my existence. That is the first reality I have. And whenever my father always says, like, feeling important is a disease. So
Could you go again? आवाज नहीं आई अच्छे से.
feeling important is a disease. So
Right.
they acknowledge the fact that if I am no more tomorrow, that doesn't change a lot. I mean, it might change a lot of things for my loved ones and everything, but it is the fact, right? I can just anyone, anywhere, the world can end anytime. So, yeah, I that doesn't stop me from doing the things I want to do. Right? Basically, I was a nihilist for a long time in college, and then I graduated maybe to an absurdist. Now, don't you don't need to make sense of everything. You just, I mean, if there is a painting, what is the need to describe it, right? If you could write it in words what this painting meant, that is not the point of art. तो वो लिख
Hmm.
के था ना. तो ऐसी नॉर्मल चीजें भी है जिंदगी की. अब कोई खाना इस तरह से बनाता है और उसे पसंद है. अब do like live it, right? Don't make sense of it always. try to make. Not everything makes sense. Most things don't. So accepting that and just going with the flow. And it's a privilege because I mean, 99% of people have way bigger problems. How will they get the dinner on their table, or how will they make ends meet for getting a lot more comfortable privilege? But yeah, I keep acknowledging the fact that everything can end any day. Just enjoy while it lasts, I guess.
Are you enjoying while it is lasting right now? Are you having total fun?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Right.
the fun cannot also be like unilaterally defined in a single dimension, right? I might be
Mhm.
struggle can be fun too. It's not people वही ना happiness is a choice वाली philosophy नहीं है मेरी कि अरे ही सब कुछ है अरे let all emotions pass. Jojo Rabbit, let everything no, so
आपकी
even
आवाज
fun
गई.
no feeling is final like Jojo
Right.
Rabbit होता है ना. I mean
Jojo
fun is
Rabbit.
yeah,
Right. हाँ.
overrated.
Fun is overrated.
Yeah.
What do you do? ये बहुत ही ना बहुत ज्यादा ही चिल हो गया ये सेशन. पता नहीं क्यों अब तो ऐसा लग रहा है कि बस आप मेरे को बता देना कि when you are bored and you have to go, right? Because I'm enjoying this, so you have to give me a cap कि like so इतना है and then you have to go. So yeah,
No, but how many questions are left? You didn't prepare any, right?
I have no questions. I'm just asking you things जो दिमाग में आ रहा है इससे.
Okay,
हाँ
okay.
हाँ हाँ
Okay,
हाँ तो
let's
आप कोई भी
10, 15 minutes more.
10-15 minutes more, right? That works. ठीक है हाँ वैसे भी 2 घंटा हो गया है तो हाँ 10-15 minutes more. हाँ लास्ट का 5 मिनट we'll just keep it for मूवी और म्यूजिक एल्बम recommendations, right? उससे पहले बस 5-10 मिनट और यार तो
मैंने कोई बनाई
अभी अभी हाँ हाँ
मैंने कोई recommendations बनाई नहीं है वैसे पर देखते हैं चलो
जो
तब
टॉप ऑफ द हेड हो आपको आप or you could look for it आपकी letterbox में. By the way, do you know you follow me on letterbox? You follow a lot of people on letterbox.
yeah
Yeah,
because
right.
all movie watchers are worth following.
Following.
Yeah,
Right, right. Yes, yes. I was surprised. मैंने अभी जनवरी में लेटर बॉक्स खोला था बहुत समय बाद. मैंने पहले बनाया था. I never used it. I went back on the app again,
I
and I
think on
saw
Letterboxd also you are Shivai, right?
हाँ 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 हाँ. I am.
I remember. Yeah, yeah.
And that is the name which is everywhere. Nobody knows me by my real name. अब तो इतना वो हो गया. I've been using it from a UG now, so it has been that thing. Right. Maybe in a
Nice.
way I have eradicated the identity my parents gave me, which is not a good thing, but anyway, right.
No.
So हाँ
Yeah.
क्या बोल रहा था मैं. Yeah, what is it अभी after working, right, 9 to 5, क्योंकि अब पहले तो आपका schedule था 8-8-8 while preparing, right है ना. Now it might be 8-7-9 because 9 hours you have to give to work every day. I'm
Hmm.
assuming, I'm again assuming, right? So what is it that you do to detach yourself from work? And it is not fun, as you said, because fun is overrated in a lot of ways. What do you do? What does your day look like? Your average day looks like?
I cook to,
Right.
yeah, that is my one activity I always look forward to, cooking my own dinner. So, but during travel, it's
Well,
very hard. Yeah. But uh, one thing I look forward to is a shower with a good playlist and cooking my dinner. That's all. That's all I
right.
look forward.
Or reading, writing, when does that happen? Is it also part of routine, everyday routine?
I think getting hooked to reading is like a disease. You can't get rid of it. So I have multiple books open on मेरे Mac पे अलग है, फोन पे अलग है और किंडल पे अलग चल रही है। एक बेडरूम में अलग साइड टेबल पे अलग किताब होगी, ड्राइंग रूम में अलग रखी होगी और डाइनिंग टेबल पे अलग रखी होगी। जहां भी मैं बैठूंगा मैं पढ़ने लग जाऊंगा। तो ये चलता रहता है। बट देन I have become so. I used to be very possessive about my books and my reading that I would focus so much कि क्या मिल रहा है मुझे, कि क्या सीख रहा हूँ मैं, याद करना quotable quotes. Now I simply do not care any. So I just मुझे ये भी नहीं याद होता कि राइटर पहले तो पर
आपको
पहले मैं
आपको
हंसता
क्या
था।
नहीं याद होता है? राइटर का नाम ही याद नहीं होता है।
हाँ, पहले मैं हंसता था कि लोग अच्छा ये रीडर है और इसे राइटर का ही नाम याद नहीं, किसकी बुक
हाँ।
पढ़ रहे हैं। पर मुझे सब याद है। तो कई बार मैं पूरी किताब पढ़ लेता हूँ, मैं भूल जाता हूँ कि लिखी किसने थी।
राइट। हाँ। I mean,
तो वो
you're saying about you don't look at books with the lens of utility you have, right? कि I have to use it somewhere. That is gone,
जस्ट
right? अब
अमेजिंग।
आपने mention किया है ना कि more than readers of books, we are primarily buyers. So sometimes you would just collect books in different languages and you would just keep it, though you would never read them anywhere close in your life, but you still do that. Do you still buy books in different languages and keep it, which you cannot read?
या ग्रीक लैटिन कभी सीखूंगा भी नहीं, फिर भी पढ़ी।
Damn.
मैंने एक
Are
सिग्मंड
you?
फ्रॉइड की बुक ली थी, पब्लिक लाइब्रेरी में पढ़ी हुई थी, विजिटेड एम्स्टर्डम, तो डच में है, और पढ़ी हुई है, और वो रबर बैंड से बाउंड थी। मतलब वो बुक पेजेस हैं 250 पेज, और बस एक रबर बैंड है, और मैं ले आया, खरीद ली मैंने ऐसी, और मैं पढ़ूंगा भी नहीं
कौन
वो।
सी बुक थी?
आई थिंक इंटरप्रिटेशन ऑफ ड्रीम्स। मुझे पता ही नहीं, मुझे तो पढ़ना ही नहीं आता क्या सिगमंड फ्रॉइड लिखा हुआ है।
Wow. मतलब you bought the book without knowing the name of the book.
Yeah.
Damn. Damn.
Because I think
Wow.
the act of buying is very different from, like, you not necessarily buy books to have the intention of reading. I mean, sometimes I feel, oh, ये तो पढ़नी चाहिए. Like, so many people just buy complete works of William Shakespeare. I doubt they read even a single work in
Yes,
that.
yes. Complete works of Shakespeare, complete works of Sylvia Plath. They just have the unabridged collection पूरा पूरा कोई नहीं पढ़ता है मेरे को लगा के। और काफी टाइम तो लोग बैकग्राउंड में इस्तेमाल करते हैं ऐसी किताबों को कि अगर इंटरव्यू हो रहा है कुछ हो रहा है, इट इज ऑलवेज देयर टू मेक यू लुक स्मार्ट। आई डू नॉट नो, मे बी आई माइट बी
जो
रॉन्ग, आई
किताब
डोंट
हाथ में
नो।
ही नहीं पकड़ी जा रही, क्या क्या पढ़ेंगे? मतलब पढ़ सकते हैं, कोई बुरी बात नहीं है, लेकिन हाँ मुश्किल है।
राइट। अभी आप क्या क्या पढ़ रहे हो? मतलब हर जगह आपकी कॉफी टेबल बुक या आपकी किंडल पे, आपके फोन पे, मैप पे कौन कौन सी बुक्स हैं? रिकमेंडेशन छोड़ दो अब, क्योंकि यू ओनली सेड कि आई डू नॉट intend on reading everything I buy, so we should not just recommend people ऐसे ही कुछ भी, right? And it's a very bad way to recommend books anyway. But आप people should pick their own books जब भी उनका मन करे. But what are you reading right now? वो जो 6-7
Right
किताबें
now,
पढ़ रहे हो?
एक तो आई एम रीडिंग थॉमस शेलिंग्स आर्म्स एंड इन्फ्लुएंस। पुरानी और आउटडेट हो गई वैसे तो, इट वाज रिटन इन 1960s when the nuclear launch was the big thing and the war was at its peak, तब की। But I'm reading that, इस पे लैपटॉप पे ये पढ़ रहा था, पेपर सोल्जर्स,
Right.
हिस्ट्री ऑफ अमेरिकन डॉलर। मुझे राइटर का नाम इतना याद नहीं है, सलेहा मोहसिन या ऐसा कुछ नाम है। तो और पेपर बैक आई हैव पंजाब, अ जर्नी थ्रू फॉल्ट लाइन्स, अमनदीप संधू की है।
Hmm.
तो इट्स ओन पर्सनल back coming from, he is from Punjabi family, but he lived outside and came back to see what the state affairs of his home state are. So it's a personal journey in that. It's nice. और uh, I'm reading Our Prisons Street, एंजेला डेविस, छोटी सी किताब है, 100 की। वो अमेरिकन प्रिजन सिस्टम को की बताता है कि क्या ये रेलिवेंट कैसे हुए, और पेनॉप्टिकॉन और मिके का जो आइडिया
मिशेल
था,
फुको, हाँ 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 हाँ।
तो एक्सप्लोरिंग दैट थ्रू लाइक कंटेम्पररी अमेरिकन प्रिजन सिस्टम, ये पढ़ रहा हूँ। और हाँ, हिंदी में मैं उनको थोड़ा फिर से पढ़ रहा था,
क्या क्या
काली
पढ़
से
रहे थे हिंदी में?
काली से मंटो, मतलब वैसे तो पंजाबी उर्दू में लिखी है उसने बुक्स, हिंदी में ही पढ़ रहा था। और बस लगभग यही है। और
आपने मूवी डॉक्यूमेंट्री देखने के बाद कोई भी विनोद कुमार शुक्ल की किताब पढ़ी?
मैंने वो पढ़ने की कोशिश की, नौकर
देयर
की
लिव द
कमीज।
विंड,
नौकर की
नौकरी
कमीज,
कमीज।
हाँ,
हाँ
शुरू
हाँ
की
हाँ।
मैंने, फिर मैंने
डिड लाइक द डॉक्यूमेंट्री?
चारकोल,
हाँ हाँ।
yeah. I think it can be rewatched so many times. Once you know what it is about, for 10 minutes you'll be like, ये क्या होता है? और आपको जब पता चला कि मूवी ये थी, इसका स्ट्रक्चर ये था और ये कहना ये चाह रही थी, तो ये तो रिविजिट, रिकॉल वैल्यू बहुत ज्यादा है, which is the
राइट।
case with a lot of people.
व्हिच इज द केस विद?
अमित दत्ता, राइट? दैट्स जो 15-20 मिनट की मूवी बनाते हैं, नैन सुख बनाई है उन्होंने।
एक
हाँ
तो आपकी ना आवाज जा रही है बीच बीच में, आप पता नहीं क्यों, बट या अमित दत्ता सुना मैंने लास्ट।
हाँ, आई थिंक ही इज एन इंडी फिल्म।
ओके, अमित दत्ता। ये सब
हाँ,
कुछ मैं डाल दूंगा एक वीडियो पे। हाँ, आई एडिट इट एंड पुट इट सो दैट पीपल कुड वॉच इट, बिकॉज बिकॉज
या
बात करने से पहले तो रिसर्च लगता ही है, मगर बट बात करने के बाद भी यू हैव टू पुट इन थोड़ा बहुत रिसर्च की, ओ द थिंग्स
या
that you mentioned, and you have to look into them, because maybe if
या
you're not, then you're not being true to yourself. फिर तो आप एक पॉडकास्ट की तरह इंटरव्यू डाले जा रहे हो which is of no use, I don't know. But हाँ, do you watch podcasts? Is it a thing for you?
podcasts, it used to be, फिर everyone started podcasting, so I stopped. I used to follow Radio Lab. The-
Radio Lab.
I liked their, but most of my podcasts were when I was learning French. I was learning through podcasts, so I used to
Wow.
RFE और वो सब पॉडकास्ट सुनता था। But in one podcast I really like, I don't know if that's the name, Friend of the Court. Friend of the Court
Friend of
is
the
a,
Court. I have heard of it.
it's quite, I don't think it's very popular, but I think their presentation and everything is quite. I watched one recently on their biography of K. Abbas, so uh, writer, filmmaker,
हाँ।
50s, तो
तो
उनका अच्छा था।
मतलब फेमस पॉडकास्टर्स या इंडियन सीन में कोई भी नहीं, यू डोंट लिसन टू एनी ऑफ देम?
एग्जाम्पल्स देना कुछ, अगर मैं सुनता हूँ तो बताऊंगा।
एंड्रयू ह्यूबरमैन, लेक्स फ्रिडमैन, जो रोगन,
नहीं,
जॉर्डन पीटरसन, ये सब नहीं? none of
नहीं,
none of the none of them, right? right
no.
right right I see. Well, I'm not a podcaster, I do not associate myself with that, but you recently watched the 20-25 minute ka clip from my recent interview, so I don't know
Oh
if
yeah,
that
yeah,
counts.
yeah.
Right, that
That's
is one, that is.
yeah.
Yeah. So अब this is fairly very decent. We have talked for 2 hours 31 minutes, right? Because we came early, right? Thank you for that. Now, before leaving, if you could just please suggest me, or even through this platform, to different people who would be watching this, because I'm sure they would be, कुछ बहुत ही दिमाग के धागे खोल देने वाली फिल्में, राइट है ना, जो देख के इंसान का दिमाग ही खराब हो जाए, ऐसा कुछ। और और some of the soundtracks and music albums which you like or which you think people should watch अगर उनके पास समय और privilege है देखने का तो, राइट? आपने पहले ये बताओ, आपने सेवरेंस देखा सीजन 2?
मैंने एक एपिसोड देखा पहला, बस।
सीजन 2 का?
नहीं, सीजन 1 का।
फिर तो पूरा क्यों नहीं देखा?
मैंने टीवी सीरीज देखना छोड़ दिया है शायद। मुझे मैं आई एम बैक टू वॉचिंग मूवीज फॉर सम टाइम। आई थिंक आई विल नॉट वॉच टीवी शोज। दैट इज,
राइट,
आई थिंक, so I watched Severance first episode in January or February.
राइट।
Then I
द सेम थिंग व्हेन सीजन 2 वाज कमिंग आउट, उसी टाइम पे।
uh, so
हाँ,
I liked it. I mean, stylistically, it was quite impressive.
राइट,
But
राइट।
yeah, I don't know. I TV
आई
shows
मीन
I
आई
will.
मीन लव आई मीन लव विद उस सीरीज का, क्या बोलते हैं, तो ओपनिंग क्रेडिट्स जैसे वो खुलता है, राइट? जो
Oh,
टाइटल्स हैं उसके, और दूसरा उसका म्यूजिक, वो थियोडोर शेफायर ने म्यूजिक दिया है उसका, वो भी बहुत अच्छा है। तो ये
the
प्लीज गो
Bear,
ऑन, रेकमेंड।
the Bear भी
हाँ
मैंने
हाँ,
नहीं देखा। Latest season The Bear।
आपने एक भी सीजन नहीं देखा था बैर का?
नहीं, मैंने पहले 3 देखे हैं। अभी शायद चौथा आया ना। तीसरा
हाँ,
मुझे
चौथा है।
पसंद।
मैंने सिर्फ 2 ही देखे हैं, तो मैंने उसके बाद देखना ही बंद कर दिया था।
ये 2
तो
बहुत
हाँ,
अच्छे हैं।
हाँ, हाँ, शुरू के 2 का सच में बहुत अच्छा है। कंसेप्ट भी बहुत अच्छा है। मुझे तो पता भी नहीं था उससे पहले कि दिस इज हाउ पीपल और मिशेलिन स्टार शेफ दे कुक। Was so
Yeah.
precise and detailed. I was like, was mesmerized
The
by it again.
romanticism of the kitchen
Yes,
makes
yes.
India really needs that.
I agree. After watching, you always are left with an impact when you watch something इतना moving है ना, moving in different ways, even in the way of style. तो अगर मैं कभी किचन में हूँ, right, and if somebody is पीछे, I would say behind, I would not say हट जाओ, क्योंकि I have recently watched The Bear, इसीलिए so I was trying to inculcate that terminology as well, but that went away after some time. So that is there. हाँ. So now, if you could tell us some good movies. There is no limit, no cap to it. You could look into your phone if you want. Some good movies that I should watch, right? Or anybody who's listening to this should watch. ऐसा कुछ.
Yeah. Okay, first thing, just because I want to recommend any more TV shows, I think Fargo is one of my all-time favorite shows. Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, obviously most people would have seen them. But Fargo, most people I think quit after maybe the first or second season. And I saw the 5th season last year, and I think it's one of the best seasons I've seen, irrespective of the show. Fargo would be a recommendation I would definitely give a lot of people, especially like season 5. You can watch it in isolation. जरूरी नहीं है follow करने की। That's John Hamm,
Fargo.
I think. Yeah.
It is
Then
also the
I
book. ये SSPT में आपने mention किया कहीं पे second chapter में,
uh,
conviction, conviction उस वाले
that's
chapter में है शायद से.
that's the movie. Again, that
That's a
brings me to Coen Brothers. Everything by Coen Brothers is amazing, apart from one or two movies. Watch all Coen Brothers movies, especially
right.
in the case of now people are excited about the Odyssey,
Hmm.
which is Nolan ka direct, but how you adapt it into a contemporary setting, like Coen Brothers have already done it through Oh Brother Where Art Thou, George Clooney and John Turturro, हाँ वही वो है उसमें तो ओ ब्रदर वेयर आर्ट thou is good movie and adaptation of Odyssey. Uh, my all-time favorite movie is obviously Apocalypse Now. I always recommend it
Okay, so,
to most
yes.
people.
The first, which is on your letterbox favorite.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And there is one movie I could not find, but I really liked. As a kid, I saw this movie called The Lost Battalion, and now I cannot find it anywhere. So if anyone can find it, I would like to know where to watch this movie because I remember it's a very I liked watching it, and it was one of my favorite war movies for a long time, The Lost Battalion.
The
But
Lost Battalion.
yeah,
I would look
but
for it. If I find, I'll send it to you.
yeah. Then
Hmm.
I would recommend directors. I think Kurosawa's movies are amazing. French cinema. I mean, if you talk about Japanese, Ozu is amazing. Perfect Days
Hmm.
is one of my all-time favorites also in recent
Right.
past. Uh, there are many interesting movies in Japanese cinema that if you love food, you watch. If you're a foodie, definitely watch Tampopo. It's
Could you go again?
Tampopo. Tampopo.
Tampopo. Right.
That is a
Hmm.
very just about Japanese cuisine. Or yeah, French. A lot of Truffaut. I love most of his movies. Uh, all in the Antoine Donnell style. If you like Apu trilogy from Satyajit Ray, you would love Antoine Donnell की 5 फिल्म है जो
हाँ हाँ.
Truffaut ने जो बनाई है. I like Godard. I love Truffaut more than Godard, but Breathless और अबू द सूफले जो भी उसका नाम है इंग्लिश में Breathless basically. That is one of the
Hmm.
I think once you watch that movie, you're like, I can also be a filmmaker. So that's that's something that's the genius of French New Wave. Baki, Agnes Varda, yeah, all of these directors are amazing. It's hard to pinpoint
Name
anyone.
of
Then there
these is yes.
are American directors. May I think Robert Eggers, Ari Aster. There are some directors who are doing great work. Uh,
Hmm.
अपना अरे मलयालम सिनेमा it's watch. I think most of the people would have watched Kulangi Nights or like Government
Yes.
Boys. They are amazing. Watch
Did you see the
Koji.
recent cinema? I do not know if it's Telugu, it's Tamil. Sarapatta Parambarai. Did you watch that film about boxing?
Yeah, yeah, Tamil. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even Alapuda Gymkhana is on
Gymkhana,
boxing.
yes. I haven't watched that
I
yet, but
didn't,
it's,
I didn't like that movie that much. Yeah, Karpata was amazing. Stylistically
uh,
also. Again, highly recommend Super Deluxe.
super
Super
deluxe.
Deluxe.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
waiting for the director's more work, I guess. Kumara Raja, right? Thyagaraja Kumara.
Hmm.
Uh, Malayalam, yeah, Joji. Joji is one of my favorite Macbeth adaptations. I put it up there with Makbul. It's blasphemy, but I having that setting of just a vacation house, I think Makbul or even yeah, Vishal Bhai's movies are amazing. I mean, think most people would have seen.
Are you also an admirer of Fafa's work, Fasil's work?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, Fahad Fazil's
Did you see
movie
Avesham recently? The one came out last year.
Saksham, Avesham, yes, I saw. It's a crazy movie, very good.
Yeah.
Minds, all out crazy movie. Uh, then I even Bangalore Days, his role is small, but it's nice. Kumbalangi Nights, defining role उसने किया है
There's
toxic.
a movie of him again with a very short screen time, limited screen time. It's called See You Soon, if I'm not
Yeah, see,
wrong.
yeah, with Roshan
See You
Matthew.
Soon with
Yeah, yeah,
Roshan
yeah,
Matthew. Yes, yes, yes. Did you see this recent thing he made? Roshan Matthew, कान खजूरा यही नाम था उसका.
yeah. नहीं मैंने अभी
आपने वो देखा? मैंने भी नहीं देखा पर उसका ट्रेलर बहुत अच्छा लगा था मेरे को. मैंने क्या बनाया है. But
uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
नहीं,
are you anyway by any chance watching indie cinema which is coming out of these independent filmmakers in India? Have you seen all Achal Mishra's work?
no, I haven't.
No.
A lot of movies. recently, because movie I did not have subscription in Seychelles. I could only like come and whenever I was on vacation, I would be able to watch certain cinema. But indie, I have been following recently.
So
Mine
movie doesn't
is,
take you sequels or what?
huh? No, it
Movie
doesn't
doesn't.
have access to that. No, certain apps are not. They are not on the radar of Seychelles. So yeah, maybe now they might have, but at the time they did not. I did not have, but that's the beauty of it. In Seychelles, there are no YouTube ads because YouTube के radar पे भी नहीं. So many movies release on YouTube. You can't
Right.
find in some.
Yeah, yeah. And watching YouTube without any ad experience is
Uh,
bliss. Totally bliss. Yes.
and
I'm sorry.
these सारी movies are on YouTube now. Like Shyam Benegal's almost entire filmography, गोविंद निहलानी, ये सब इनकी almost सारी movies हैं YouTube पे. Shame on
हाँ.
गया उसके. हाँ. I recently watched Trikal by Shyam Benegal, which is a interesting history of Goa, like cultural setting
हाँ हाँ.
in Goa independence. Uh, yeah, Shyam Benegal
Did
is, I
you
think, huh?
did you watch Jaggi? Anmol Sidhu का film.
That is also on my watch list. I have to watch.
Right. You should
ये
watch it.
सारी Nikhil Mishra, Jaggi, and even
पोखर के थ्रू पार भी एक recently movie आई थी.
ये सब अभी मेरी वॉच लिस्ट. I think
Right.
Humans in Soup is only indie because I could watch it because RNA was gracious enough to let me see it. But otherwise, my indie library is very depleted right now. It's still
Did the movie release anywhere? Humans in the Loop.
it festivals में आ रही है, but अभी थिएटर में आएगी. एक बार तो festival वाला शायद.
Right. 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 ठीक है. I have a movie recommendation for you if you have time. You should watch The Fall. Have you seen The Fall?
The Fall कौन से वाली?
The
जोसेफ गॉर्डन
नहीं तारसीम सिंह वाली.
नहीं देखता हूँ.
It's based on the backdrop, uh, which uses stories to tell the significance of stories. Right? It's as simple as that. Yes, it's based in pre-colonial, no, not pre-colonial, colonial India. Yes, or maybe post-colonial India. It's around that time. It's about an actor and about a child. It's a beautiful film. It's one of my favorite films of all time. You should watch it.
Nice.
It's
There is
also a
this.
movie, right?
Okay, I will check it out. एक Canadian documentary भी है. I think. The stories we tell.
The stories we tell. किसकी है ये?
मुझे डायरेक्टर का नाम नहीं पता. शायद उसको और कोई movie पर ये है. इसमें भी I think that is the thing, but it's presented in a non-fiction because it's a
हाँ
documentary.
हाँ हाँ हाँ. Right. एक ये आपने पियानो टीचर देखी है? The Piano Teacher.
2000 वाली ना 2000 जो आई थी है ना. हाँ
हाँ हाँ.
पियानो टीचर नाम की 2-3 मूवी वही ना. अरे what was the name of the actress?
I don't remember the name. The movie is in French. Is all I remember.
Yeah, 2001 वाली. Yeah, I saw it in French only.
Oh, you
Yeah.
right.
Well, you can. Yeah.
Right.
Michael Haneke और ये सब.
हाँ अभी recently there is this director, if I'm getting his name right, Vacuum Trier, जिन्होंने Oslo trilogy बनाई थी और The Worst Person in the World बनाई, है ना? उनके भी एक नई मूवी आई है. It's called Sentimental Values. आपने ट्रेलर देखा उसका?
नहीं. I will check.
वो
अरे नहीं, I think ट्रेलर देखा. कौन है?
वही उनका नाम प्रोनाउंस करना नहीं आता. रेने द सेम फीमेल लीड जो वर्स्ट पर्सन इन द वर्ल्ड में थी. वही. Right. Sentimental Values. It's again about some family drama. I just love his films, and the only trivia I share with him again is that we were both born on the same day. 1st of March. Sounds like you आपको देखना ही पड़ेगा. That is a good thing about him now, right?
Nice.
बस और कुछ नहीं है. Yeah. हाँ. और कोई music album recommendation?
Not particularly, but uh, Nick Drake, you know, he was an
Nick
artist. I
Drake.
think Heath Ledger died while preparing for his role. People assume that he died because the Joker, मतलब Joker method acting or effect it had on him. But I think he was preparing to make a movie on biopic Nick Drake. So Nick Drake की नई album unreleased records of his different renditions of the same song have released recently, and it's called "The Making of Five Leaves Left." ऐसा कुछ है.
The making of.
Uh, Five Leaves. एक second. The Making of Five Leaves Left. It's a 2.5 hour long album, and it has 3 versions of the same song, and it has 40 songs. So it's. I think it's interesting to listen
Right.
to
Nick Drake.
that if you have time. Yeah. And then I have these couple of favorites recently. Westo. Music, it's like the music you heard in college gets back to you again and again, right? Because that's the you define places with music you when you were there sometimes, right? तो ये तो मेरा
Yes.
चलता रहता है. तो Rodriguez और Simon Garfunkel, हिमेश रेशमिया. तो
हाँ, आपने तो उनकी नई फिल्म भी देखी थी जो भी रिसेंटली रिलीज हुई थी.
राजा साहब.
Ravi Kumar. Right. Masterpiece. So yeah.
Yeah,
Ah.
not masterpiece, but yeah, good.
नहीं,
Self-aware.
गाना इतना कैची था. वो ताजमहल कोई गाना था, मैं नाम भूल गया, बट वो इतना कैची गाना था. इट्स लाइक, ओ दिस इज पीक हिमेश रेशमिया अगेन. बहुत बहुत सही गाना था वो. And then I was surprised to see some cast उस मूवी में कि how did they agree to do this movie. And I was like,
Yeah.
चलो ठीक है, ये भी बढ़िया ही है ऐसे.
But I like how everyone's now owning Mitch finally. Like people have started owning his genius, which they had disowned for a long time.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
actually I like in the recent अब तो DHH भी हो रहा है, सीधा मौत और वो सब चल रहा है. मेरे को भी सही लगता है. But I think I went overboard listening to a couple of. So now that phase is over, I guess. But I like the. I was missing Amit Trivedi's work now because for a long time you could bank on a guy who would generate masterpieces, right? All copy
yes.
in mainstream Bollywood. Amit Trivedi's work was flawless, but recently his work is just, I think a little underwhelming. But I think Char Diwari does very good stuff. Maybe like a spiritual successor to Amit Trivedi.
Char Diwari
his music I like.
Trivedi. Wow.
I think
That's
so. The
right.
the music, the kind of music, the kind of sound he uses, I think he can. I mean, अभी तक जो काम हुआ है, वो जो मुझे सही लगा है.
आपको अगर चूज करना हो अमित त्रिवेदी और मोहित चौहान के बीच में, इफ यू हैव टू, हु विल यू चूज? अमित त्रिवेदी?
Yeah, because मोहित चौहान और अमित त्रिवेदी क्या है? एक तो कंपोजर है. हाँ, एक कंपोजर है और एक
हाँ
कंपोजर
आई गॉट
है, लेकिन
बट अमित त्रिवेदी आल्सो सिंगर, ही आल्सो सिंग्स. गाने भी तो गाते हैं वो.
हाँ, पर सिंगर की बात है फिर तो मोहित चौहान.
हाँ, मैं वही बोल रहा था. सिंगर में who would you choose? अमित त्रिवेदी या मोहित चौहान? Yes.
Amit Trivedi is not a singer. I think he says that. I mean, he is a great. His voice is nice.
हाँ.
He
Also,
uses
अच्छा last
his.
question. Uh, हाँ प्लीज कंप्लीट क्या बोल रहे थे आप?
कुछ नहीं बोल रहा हूँ.
Last question. You went to Stephen in 2014, right? Uh,
Yeah.
रॉकस्टार की बहुत पहले आई नो रॉकस्टार को लेके बहुत ही पोलराइज्ड ओपिनियन है लोगों के, राइट? ये वो जो भी है, बट मेरे ओपिनियन में रॉकस्टार आई बिलीव इट्स एन एक्सीडेंटल मास्टरपीस, राइट? मेरे हिसाब से मुझे नहीं पता दुनिया जहाँ क्या सोचती है, बट वर यू एक्साइटेड even a little about this fact ki the college I'm going to, Rockstar has been shot there? I don't know. Were you, or is this a stupid question to
No,
ask?
no. I actually all Imtiaz Ali movies. I never like them while I'm watching them. That's the problem. You start liking them way later. I think Chamkila was the only movie where I liked the movie while watching it. Because I think वही लोग उसे way ahead of his time और वो सब बोलते हैं his work. Maybe that's true because you realize only later how good that was and what it wanted to say. So
Right, but that's
by
the
the
only
time I
Imtiaz
started
movie I
watching,
like. Ha.
huh?
But that's the only Imtiaz Ali movie I like, Rockstar. That's it. I don't even like Chamkila that much. But ha.
So yeah, wait. I liked it way later. Music obviously is one of the best albums ever in
Yes.
Bollywood. Maybe
Yes.
after
Yes.
like
Yes.
Dave. Yeah.
Maybe after
Uh,
doing the yes. Ha. Correct.
yeah.
Yes. That's pretty much it. Do you have a question for me?
Hmm.
मतलब ऐसे फोर्सफुली नहीं, अगर है तभी मत.
नहीं वैसे तो नहीं है but how was your experience like what did you expect from our conversation and are you confused with what I said because sometimes I don't make sense and I what is your feedback.
If you remember, right, me calling you sir and you telling me that I should not be addressed as this, right? And we should be like just college students talking, college grad students talking, right?
Yeah.
उस मोमेंट पे उससे पहले I had the belief that I would come in with the view to extract something out of the conversation, right? To learn
Yes.
something, and you learn, right? Even knowingly or unknowingly, you learn something. I would imbibe something from this conversation which I would use later on. But when that conversation happened, I was like, oh, pretty much on the same level, right? Not to
Yeah.
offend anyone or any of your fans out there, right? On the same level of discussing things. Us moment I thought that I could sit with you like a friend and just have this chat, right?
Yeah.
So this to me felt very similar, like talking to a very good buddy from college, right? After the
Mm.
class has ended, and you don't want to go back home, but you just want to sit and chat for 1 to 2 hours, right? Library के बगल में चाय पीते हुए कहीं बाहर campus में घूमते हुए. So it very much
Yeah.
uh, felt like that. That was the essence of conversation, and in between, we did not talk any dense stuff. It was pretty much very chill, right? And then you're
Yeah.
talking about the implication of things about your life in the services for a very brief moment, and then I
Yeah.
getting to know, okay, things don't actually get very much resolved after you achieve something. Maybe you have different set of problems, but you would never run away from that. And the most interesting part of the conversation was when he talked about the loneliness bit, right?
Yeah.
uh, I do not know. I just have an idea. Being a college student who's 21, 22, you are always on the verge of things. You do not know what would happen next.
Yeah.
Nobody I meet in college is sorted that what they want to do. They just try stuff कि ये कर लेते हैं, ये भी कर लेते हैं, ये भी हो जाएगा, जो होगा देखा जाएगा. Now
Mm.
अब वो अलग बात है, 5-10 साल बाद you look back, you retrospect, and then you could make sense of all of this. But now I precisely cannot. And this gives me comfort that while you were in college, right,
Yeah.
you had the same outlook towards life. Ki you were trying this, you were trying that. And now when you look back, it has all made sense. You being in the theater group Sabha, then you making films, right? Then you doing things, or how
Yeah.
everything panned out. तो अभी
Yeah.
the same thing. अभी एकदम close up पे है तो सब कुछ बहुत ही ट्रेजिडी लग रही है देखने में कि अरे 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 क्या होगा नहीं होगा. But when now that you have zoomed out, you have given me that perspective that when you zoom out after 5, 6, 7 years, this will all make sense. Hopefully, it will. So that is what I
Well,
got from the conversation. Though I do not look at the utility of this conversation. It was just two friends chilling and talking. That's it. अब मैं अगर इसको YouTube पे डालूंगा अभी तो I would not be concerned इसको कितने लोग देखेंगे नहीं देखेंगे because I don't know. Uh, but ठीक है जिसको देखना होगा they'll find their way through this video and they'll find it fun. Or maybe क्या पता कुछ लोग से खाना खाते हुए देख रहे हैं, right? Which is not advisable. They should people
yeah,
should not watch something while eating. But yeah, so yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it. But I could not be more grateful that being a college student, right, I had the access to you, to talk to you, which I would have never thought is possible. To be very honest, right? This is not a closing remark that you are supposed to give at the end of a big presentation. होता है ना college societies में कि आप guest में बोल दिया तो आप कुछ तो अच्छी लाइनें बोल दें उनके बारे में. It is not something which is supposed, but I did
yes,
not tell anyone about this conversation except
yeah,
two friends. And when I
yes,
did, I was so excited to talk about it. I was like, "Ki, I could not tell it, bhai, but I'm very happy that the person I've
man,
been watching on screen for 2, 3 years, and I watched your interview 2018, May, right? And I'm not fanboying, right? I'm not trying to set you apart, be happy, but I watched interview 2018 में, when it 2019 में, when it came out. जब आपका रिजल्ट आया ही था उस टाइम पे यू गेव अ विजन आइज का लेक्चर जहाँ पे आप समझा रहे थे कि ये प्रीलिम्स मेंस ये इंट्रो बॉडी कंफ्यूजन वो पूरा एक
yeah,
3 घंटे या 2 घंटे का लेक्चर है. और तब से
mm,
लेकर अब तक इट्स 7 years and you have been a constant part of my life unknowingly through media only, right? Of course, through YouTube, through Twitter, and now being on the other side, talking to you is a
mm,
good feeling to have, and I'm still very excited about it. That and
that's
I told my friend that now the person knows, right, that I exist. That's uh, that's a good feeling to have.
no, way more than that. We've had an intellectual discourse as equals, so that is something that is the.
Right.
I mean, I enjoyed it so much. I didn't. मैं तो टाइम देख भी नहीं रहा था और अब देख के लगा वो 3 घंटे हुए पता ही नहीं चला.
Oh shit, 3 घंटा हो गया मैंने भी देखा.
So I'm
Right.
glad it was
आप
Sunday. Yeah,
right. Yes. Yes.
yeah. So we
Or
could. Yeah.
please go on. We could.
That we could do this for as much as time as we wanted. There was no hurry, and I'm glad I could, you know, pick your brains and you could pick my brains, and we could maybe reach towards something, even if we were not making sense in, you know, particular portions of the conversation. But overall, it's been, yeah, almost like a Sergio Leone feature length movie. 3 घंटे की.
Yeah, 160 minutes to be precise. Yes. Oh, sorry, 180 minutes to be precise. It's 3 hours now. Yes, yes, yes. And about picking brains, yeah, I mean, of course. But I don't know, you might be busy, of course, but any time in the near future when you're free, when you are in Delhi, or when you have time again to chill and have this conversation about movies, because this time we did not talk much about movies. We
Yes.
just digressed from here and there, है ना? और literature, movie, music, बहुत कुछ रह गया. तो किस दिन when you have time, right? When I have time, we could just sit again and have this conversation again. Yes.
Yeah.
So that is pretty
Done.
much it. Yes. So I should end the recording now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just give me a minute.